All right, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Biblical Hidden, folks. My name is Steven, host of the show, doing 2 shows in one day. That's what we're doing here. We got Seth Kicklighter back on this in the studio, and part two. We're following up after the first episode that we did together. So let's get right into it. But first, before we get right into the topic, if anyone wants to support the show, be sure to head on over to Patreon, patreon.com/the Biblical Hitman, folks. It's where you can get all of your ad-free, early access, direct chats, and community chats with me. Also, if you want to support the YouTube, just head on over, hit the subscribe button, like the show, share it with your friends. And also, if you want to support the platform on audio, just head on over to any of the audio platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, wherever you can consume your podcast content or music. That's where the show is. I just encourage people to hit that follow button while you head over there and drop a review. The reviews help, and it'd be a blessing to the show. But I've got Seth back in the studio. What's up, brother? Good to have you.
Hello. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you having me so close to the last one. I need the attention, so I feel validated. Thank you.
Yeah, dude. You mag dumped with Ben earlier today. I was watching
Yep.
the show.
If I could fit a third one in today, I would, but this is pretty good. I'll be content with it.
If I could fit a third one,
I would.
probably die.
Yeah, no, I mean, do it for the Lord, man. I'm trying my best.
That's right. Real quick, everybody, I'm wearing my one of my fallen brothers worked at our department. His name's Austin. If anyone's wondering what the shirt means, Austin was one of my partners for a few years, and a tragic accident happened to him on shift. But I'm just very thankful that I got to give him a hug that morning when I got off shift when that terrible scenario happened. But yeah. But Seth, part two, man. Before we dive right into it and just start spraying all the demons, right?
That's right.
Where can the folks find your content? Where can they support you the most?
Yeah, I have a crazy book out. It's called Spirit Realm Shenanigans and Unhinged Rant, Exposing the Psychic Fabrications of Discarnate Dweebs and Nephilim Nitwits. And it's a fun book. You're going to have fun with it. You won't find another like it. That's maybe a compliment, maybe not. But it's a book basically breaking down my overall theories, which we got into the first one last episode, which if you're watching this and you didn't watch the first episode, you're going to have less context than, you could probably make it through it, but it's going to make a lot more sense with the first one as a bedrock foundation to it. And that's where I cover my concept that, astral travel is basically controlled simulations and from the demonic realm, and even if they're guides and you want to believe that because that's what they claim to be, they admit to having this ability of simulation control in the astral and putting consciousness of whoever is in the astral into these simulations, which have these grandiose visions. But you asked me about where to support me, and I got off topic real quick. Anyway, that's what the book's generally about, but it gets into all sorts of different psychic derived information. So today's going to be something different, but you can find the bio. My link tree's in my bio on my Twitter and on my Instagram, which is Sethlehem, which is my username right there. And it's Sethlehem, Bethlehem with a Seth, and it's Sethlehem _ on Instagram. So find me there. All my stuff is linked in my link tree. My podcast appearances, my book, my audiobook, which is free, and it's 34 hours, and is on Spotify and YouTube, all that stuff, my contact, my favorite content, all that stuff. So, and music recommendations, just because I wanted to be fruity on there. So yeah, enjoy it.
Yeah, awesome, man. Awesome. Yeah, you got a bunch of links here. If anyone's interested, you can check him out on X, and he's got his link tree right there. And pretty much, I mean, on that profile on your channel there on X, you can find everything, everywhere to support you, right?
That's right, and I respond to as many messages as I can. So you got any questions or want to reach out for any reason, I love to hear testimonies of people. I've been getting a lot of contacts lately, making some internet friends. I never hate to make more, so let's band together, all that stuff.
Yeah. So what's up, everybody in the chat? We got Valley Girls in here. We got JB in the house. User, what's going on? Saved by Grace. What is up, everybody? Good to see you, and I'm just excited to get the rest of the crowd in here. Yeah, man, the first episode we covered, you got a lot into the Monroe Institute, a lot of the people who established pretty much that whole entire organization, and kind of what they're building there.
Yeah.
Where do we start with part two?
Well, it's obviously correlated to part one. It's going to be, I would say, quite different material, but it's going to correlate pretty heavily, and it's going to be a long and somewhat more convoluted one. And I apologize for anybody who can't follow some of this, but I do a decent job at breaking it down. But it can be pretty hard to follow at times because it's kind of ridiculous and goofy and hilarious at times. But it makes it fun, so you'll have a little bit of fun with it. But essentially, what we're covering today is last episode. Little recap. Astral travels, fake simulations, and they use it to create a cosmology that they can then share with the experiencer, who then will come back and ideally be an asset and share that information, which the more of an asset you are, the more experiences you'll have. But if you're just having fun with it, you're probably going to get less attention and less grandiose experiences. But Monroe, being the top author and astral traveler of all time as far as popularity goes, he was getting decades worth of experiences and creating a cosmology and mapping out this whole reincarnation-based universe that we apparently live in, based off of lucid dreams controlled by demons that you're implanted in. And they feel realer than reality. That is a common trait you will constantly hear. It feels realer than reality, and they can't tell the difference between that and their real life if the entities choosing want to make it that realistic. So that's just, keep that in mind. That's the basis of what we're talking about. Today it's going to be holistic healing methods that are pretty underground except for the new stuff coming out. And I'm basically going to do a breakdown for the first half of spirit releasement therapy, which is a practice that kind of got popular in small pockets around the world, well, in this country from the 80s and 90s, and it might have died out because I don't hear anybody talking about it, but it definitely was a thing then, and the people who were the leaders in it are, I believe, dead or very, very old. So we'll get into the sources in a minute, but spirit releasement therapy, short version, if I can make it, is basically where a patient will come in with... they'll have some spiritual harassment or spiritual problems, mental depression, or physical, and very, very physical problems. Whatever their problem may be, anything they want to get healed, they'll come to this spirit releasement therapist, who will then ask them in advance to disidentify with any spirits that may come forward, and there always is one. And then they channel these spirits, which they find out, oh, these are their attachments. They're not just calling and doing a seance for spirits. No, these are attached spirits that are merged with them already, and they're just contacting them and then asking them questions, finding out how they got connected to them, finding out what ailments they're causing, and then telling them, hey, you got to go. You got to get out of here. It's like an exorcism, but new age Gnostic version, and very friendly to the entities for the most part. And I'll get into the details more in a minute, but it's essentially where these entities are really, in my opinion, just demons acting out characters. Like all channeled work, you'll be channeling, and they'll claim to be ghosts, usually earthbound ghosts, and they'll claim to be aliens, but usually it's etheric tech attachments that are connecting to these aliens in their labs, which is crazy stuff, which it's not that the alien's there, it's that they're in a lab and you're connecting to them via tech. But it's just like channeling. And then you'll also get demons, but they call themselves like dark force entities, DFEs, because they don't like the terminology of the biblical association with demon. So they're different demons. They have a different vibe, more childlike and not as intelligently evil. And then there are soul fragments, which are parts of your soul which are disconnected due to trauma or some crazy event that made you disassociate, and then boom, your soul misses a chunk of itself and it has its own identity. And you can channel that entity, and then you ask it to reintegrate with yourself. Little sketchy if it's not really what it says it is. So yeah, there's all these different sorts of entities that you're channeling, and then they act out all these scenes and give you cosmology along the way and tell you all this great secrets of the universe, which all the channeled stuff likes to do. And then you go, okay, bye, we'll see you later, go to the light now, and they'll have angels come down and rescue them. Now, how do we know this is happening? How do we know? Aren't they just telling you? Yes, they're telling you what's happening, they're channeling it, but simultaneously, the patient is in a trance state, they're in a meditative trance state, and they're getting a vision simultaneously, like a remote viewing style type third eye vision, where they're seeing this happen in the spirit the whole time. They're seeing what's playing out. They see a demon, they see them get trapped by angels when you ask them, and then they see them go to the light afterwards. They see the whole thing happen in their mind's eye. And then they get healed afterwards of whatever problem it was. It can be all sorts of different things, anything really. They'll get healed, and then they'll have this whole validative experience where they channel the spirit, they have a vision, and then they get healed, so they go, oh, well, that was all legitimate. Now, an alternative, my view, is that no, what's happening is the demons that are causing these ailments or have some level of control over them are now laying off pressure, deciding to leave you alone, temporarily often, right when this happens while giving you a simultaneous vision and channeling through you because you're doing a divination practice. And then they will leave you alone for a bit. And if you're an asset, they'll take good care of you and they probably won't mess with you. But a lot of people come back and say, no, my problems came back worse. If not the same problems, just returning later. Then you got to come back for more, and then you got to come back for more, and then they get rid of it. And then you got to come back. People get addicted. Like people have gotten like many sessions doing this healings. They fix it, and then they come back. So it's all a show to me, and the fact that this exists shows a lot about what the demonic agenda is when you see the details in it. And what we're going to get into in the second half is how Dan Duvall, I'm calling out specifically, my opinions here, by the way, lawyers who are listening, I'm using all verbatim quotes for his information, but I'm breaking down how his practice is a Christianized version of it, where he's dealing with what he believes are Jesus and angels. He's channeling Jesus and angels, but really, he's channeling the same demons who are just masking as a Christian version. And they have lore that intersects in a lot of ways because they're doing the exact same thing with slight differences, but they cannot coexist. They cannot coexist and be healing people, yet they are. And I think he's a dangerous false prophet for the Christian movement and pushing a lot of dangerous ideas and is getting very, very popular. He has over 10,000 hours in deliverance, he claims. I don't know who's counting that, but he does. And then he's training hundreds of people right now, soon to be in the thousands, according to him, a few months ago. So huge trickle-down danger from this, and it's pushing a lot of dangerous narratives. Literal aliens, old Earth, which that one's less controversial, I suppose. But just a lot of things alongside that, and asking people to integrate with their soul, which is integrating with demons, pretending to be your own spirit, which is a higher self of a Christian. It's basically the same thing, rebranded. So, sorry I ranted, but that is the 1,000-foot overview of what we're covering today.
Right. And so I heard you mention holistic medicine. Where were you getting at with that?
Well, the SRT, spirit releasement therapy practice in and of itself is not medicine, but it's a holistic practice, which is what I was referring to. Now, I think there's other holistic practices like Reiki, which is the same thing. It is the exact same thing, but it's not contacting entities with verbally and getting visions, but you are asking an entity to give you their power to heal. Like you're consenting to taking in energy from the universal consciousness or some specific entity you name 3 times, like Beetlejuice, and then you get their power and heal people. But really, it's the same thing, where the demons are laying off pressure because you're doing a divination act, and they are making you think you have power. It's the same thing, but this one's more complicated and crazy.
I mentioned that because I've been doing a lot of research in Edgar Casey, which he was a clairvoyant in the early 1900s, but he was very well known for his holistic practices. He was very well. I mean, a little quick story about the guy is that he pretty much had a hard time talking as a young kid, and he went to a hypnotist, and then the hypnotist tried to kind of resolve the issue, and then he Casey was like, you know what, I've had these abilities since I was a young boy. I could do this myself. And he actually went into these trances, and when he went into these trances, he channeled an entity, and the entity spoke right through him in a very deep voice, a voice that wasn't his, and told the doctors what was wrong with him. And so after that, he got involved with holistic medicine to where he could even heal people just from talking to them over the phone.
It's the same concept here. It's just a game.
It is.
Because if you're going along with their lore, if you believe into their lore, it's better for them to lay off pressure. They don't gain anything by attacking you and harassing you, except maybe some energy harvesting, if that's really true. But that's way less important than the overall agenda of manipulating you into a false cosmology and belief system. So they're trading it off. So it's not just Jesus that heals. These aren't authentic healings. They come with a cost, and you don't have spiritual protection after these, even in the Christian versions, because they're just playing games with you, and it's intelligent what they're doing, because they're playing to their strengths, and they know, well, this is the best way to manipulate people and make them think that they're holy because they're healing. So it must be a positive, benevolent thing. No, that's a trickster element,
Morpheus, brother, thank you for the super chat. He says, Seth, do you think Taylor Welch is an op?
Great question, brother. For a long time, and I still kind of do lean towards the useful idiot kind of mentality, because he's getting a lot of, but I've heard sketchy things about his financial dealings in the past and his lawsuits with these giant contracts. I don't know his whole story, and he seems like a nice guy who's maybe just deceived by this man, because he's had on Dan Duvall like 5 times. and he just eats it up. And then whenever something controversial comes up that Dan Duvall has a hard time explaining, he's like, "We don't have to talk about it if you don't want." And I'm like, "Why are you protecting him when he has to answer the hard questions?" It's weird. So he might be. He's powerful and rich, and he's close with a lot of huge people, and he has on a lot of sketchy people. Micah Turnbow's another one. I'm calling out names today. Who deal with demons and they claim it's God. It's a lot, and it's very obvious when you break it down. But
And
Dan
even
Duvall's well, yeah, go ahead.
No, even if they aren't an op, I'm just seeing too many of these very, very, very big platforms not pushing back with anybody.
Yeah.
They're not. They're just like lukewarm, and it's not me like criticizing and just insulting the brethren. It's that, hey, are we for the gospel and what it says? Are we for the Bible and what it says? Or are we just going to allow people to come on to shows to reach an audience of hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people that will hear certain information? And if we are allowing these people onto the platforms and we're not pushing back, then it's almost like a slight or subtle confirmation from the host.
Oh,
where
yeah.
he kind of agrees with this, and then people follow the show because they like the host, right? Yes, the guest
Yeah.
is something that they like as well, but they like the host, and if the host is okay with it, then they listen. We all have a flock to attend to it, in my opinion. It's not that I'm running a church here, but there's people that like to watch the show, or people are into other shows, whatever. It's just too much lukewarm, man. It's too much lukewarm. People have to actually start to like saddle up the horse, man, and start riding for the gospel. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
I
come
agree
on.
100%. And, we need to remember what the Bible tells us about the great deception coming. Hold on, is my screen showing? Can you see me?
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
My
It's a
screen just
little
went out on
glitchy,
my
but you're
screen.
good.
Okay, well, if I go away, let me know, but I can't see anything right now. That's scary. Okay,
It's
we're good.
probably because it went on sleep mode or something.
Oh, shoot, I got to plug in my laptop. Oh, that was a close one.
Oh, nice.
That's what it was. Okay, if I die, I'm so sorry, but I think I'm
I
good.
still got audio. I still got audio from you.
Can you see me?
Yeah.
Oh,
you're-
boy.
you're-
Okay, I think I'm good. I'm just going to let it
Oh,
ride.
so Morpheus says, he goes, what did he say? He said, Timothy Alberino, dang, autocorrect.
Well, I think you can assume how I feel.
Listen, I'll tell you what, Morpheus. Alberino won't give me the time of day. He even pretty much fired back at me for no reason.
Oh, really?
The guy likes Discord on X very, very much, and I put him in his place with just research and intelligence, and he did not reply back to me. He will never reply back to me, even in DM chats. So I've invited him to come on the show. That's the thing. These people, they want to go on these lukewarm shows because there won't be pushback against them. And the pushback is something that every Christian should kind of, do in a loving way, right? You do it in a loving way. But that's my take on Timothy. And if Timothy's watching right now, brother, I'd like to have you on the show. I just want to ask you some questions. I want to get your thought process on certain things, and then I want to ask you some other questions of things that I've researched where I see the world going. Because he's pushing this what is it, Saturnalia age or something. It's just an age of cataclysm and all of this, and it's what everyone else is doing. It's what the world's doing. And we're not of the world. We have to actually figure out what's the next layer of deception with all of this. So hey, we lost Seth. It's all good. We'll get him back here soon in just a moment. While he's doing all that, I'll keep an eye on him for when he is backstage. But how we doing, everybody? What's going on, Ashley? What's going on, Ultra? What's going on, B Done? Is it short for Brandon? 444. I'm gonna call you 444. There we go. Some of these usernames are hilarious. What's up, Lattice? Working through your emails and enjoying it. What's going on, Jack? Jack Bonson. What's up, brother? Yeah. So Seth just texted me. He's like, "Yeah, give me a second." So we'll get him back in the studio here in just a moment. I hope everyone's having a good day. Man, he did a show on Ben's show earlier today for like 2.5 hours, maybe 3 hours. And that's a mag dump. of information. And I'm thankful that he's still good to go, still ready to go for the show today. And this is the thing with this realm that we're dealing with a lot of these entities, demons, these principalities, these powers. They're really the bit one of the biggest things that they play in our world is to manufacture reality for whatever whoever is the user. They want to, at the end of the day, turn you away from the truth. Even if they tell you 90% truth, they want you to grip that 10% lie, which may be the biggest part of the illusion when they are interacting with people. But they want to steer you away from the truth. They want to steer you away from the Bible. They even want to discredit certain things of the Bible. They want you to think that the Bible's just a book written by men. They want you to think about all of these things. And I think the Bible is extremely and I mean way bigger than that. I think the word became flesh and the and the word walked amongst men. The Bible's pretty clear when it talks about that in the Gospel of John. And so I think the demonic realm and these entities, they really, really are trying to run a narrative, right? And the biggest thing too, where people, when they're channeling these things, when they're having these experiences, where they're going and getting these downloads of information, it's steering an agenda here in the physical plane. For example, Edgar Casey. I mean, he goes Edward, Edgar. It's kind of both. Sometimes I mix match the two. But these clairvoyants, Rudolf Steiner, Blavatsky, also Alice Bailey. What do they all have in common? They all have in common that they've had some sort of connection with non-human intelligence, and then they come here and they establish certain things. Blavatsky established Theosophy, Alice Bailey, New Age. Now there's other organizations that took information from Alice Bailey and developed new organizations of Neo-New Age. It just means New Age. And these people are influenced by these spirits 100% because they're probably connecting to them. They're talking about them. The UFO stuff, the non-human intelligent aspect of this, the why they came out with the new terminology of UAP, it's because they're trying to ease in the initiation of this idea to the world, to the audiences in podcasts, to the people watching the news outlets. Everyone gets their information from someone else today, which is why I really advocate for going and researching these things yourself. And sometimes it's just too much work for certain people, and people like to rely on others for seeking information and all this. But what I see being played out right now is there's a lot of framing going on, and who's the best at doing that, right? Satan's the best at doing that. He's the best at blaming someone else for for what he caused, or for what he initiated, right? He wants to blame other things. He doesn't want to take the blame for himself. He wants to hide in the shadows. And so pretty much what I see with the UFO UAP narrative, NHI narrative, is that there he is. What's up, dude?
I'm so sorry. That was so ghetto.
You're good. Just make sure you're, I think I hear myself in the background. Just make sure you have your mic chosen correctly and your speaker.
I had to move to my backup laptop, so the quality might be a little bit worse on the camera. Do I sound, right. How is it right now?
So go ahead, sound. How do we sound, chat? How do we sound? We sound all right? Go ahead, sound off. Let's see.
Okay, yeah, because that was dramatic. I'm sorry. I had to...
No, it actually sounds good. I think it sounds good. Go ahead, man. So I think enough of me ranting. I think we left off with Duvall, right? I think we were.
Yeah, I'm going to rant about him endlessly in the second half. Right. So I want to stay a little structured for now. And so I have to break down spirit releasement therapy, what it is. And I want people to understand the dynamics of this stuff, like the process of what's happening, so they can really visualize it. Because one, it proves my vision theory from episode 1 without even the astral lore being involved. It proves that is possible. even though the astral stuff is more immersive and more telling in a lot of ways. But this is the same concept, but filtering into holistic healing and how it's part of the whole deception and how it's.
Are you able to turn your volume up just a little bit? They said that you're a little lower. I could just imagine when Seth had the technical issues, everything probably fell off the table.
It was more dramatic than it should have been. I tripped over wires and then I fell and then I was crying and it was a whole thing.
Okay. All right.
What about now? I can be louder too. I can definitely do that.
Okay. I mean, it looks okay from my end. I just wanted to get some confirmation from the chat. How do we sound? And I guess just go ahead and I'll look at the comments.
Okay, sick. So yeah, we're gonna start with the sources and just give a quick overview of what they are, so you understand the dynamics here. The main source I'm using is William J. Baldwin's Spirit Releasement Therapy Manual, which is a pretty long, hefty book, which I've dissected and cross-examined with these other ones. And we're also going to use his book, and that was from the early 90s. And in the late 90s, he has another book that came out, which we'll talk about a bit later. And that's CE6, Close Encounters of the Possession Kind. And there's a lot of revealing things when you break that one down. So these are New Age Gnostic type beliefs being pushed in these cosmologies that they're talking about, by the way, and their whole belief system. And then I'm going to combine it with Shakuntala Modi's Remarkable Healings, which is basically the same stuff, except instead of like direct instruction on what they're doing and how to do it, it's more so transcripts and like dialogues from their sessions. So you can see what they actually talk like and how corny and ridiculous it is. If we have time, I'll read some bonus goofy quotes, but we'll see what happens. And then there's Carl Wickland's 30 Years Among the Dead, which is not spirit releasement therapy, but it's like an older version from the late 1800s, early 1900s. It's 30 years worth of channelings that this man did, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But that is another source, and we're showing the differences and similarities between them and how they don't align in the lore. And then we're going to talk about Dan Duvall in a big chunk in the second half, where we're going through things he said and in his practice and what he does, and showing how they all have similarities, but they can't coexist. It doesn't make any sense. So that's what the sources are. But for Dan Duvall, I didn't include any of his book sources because his main book about all this stuff came out after I released mine, and I haven't read it yet. But I listened to 40 or 50 hours of his interviews, a lot, to dissect and take things he says verbatim and, use those as my sources here. So it's all verbatim stuff. And I'll get into the core parallels here, which is that they're all trance state based. You're getting into a trance state, a theta brainwave state, 4 to 8 hertz for all of this stuff. For any out-of-body travel, mediumship, entity contacts, dreams, all of these things, you're in a theta brainwave state. That's the common denominator. Past life regression, all that. And these spirit releasement therapy, by the way, is coinciding with past life regression, which they do both. But I'll get into why they do SRT first, because there's a whole bunch of weird layers there. The other thing is that all these spirits that these people are channeling are in the SRT stuff and the older stuff. They are sent to the light at the end, like the heaven realms, but they call it the light. But it's not like a Christian heaven, of course. And they're sent there and angels come and rescue them, or light beings, they call them, I mean. And then in Dan Duvall's, he's not dealing with ghosts. He's just dealing with mostly demons, but also aliens and soul fragments, which is the same as the other stuff. But he doesn't get any ghosts, even though 80% of the entities in the SRT lore is ghosts. But none of them exist in Dan Duvall. So how is that statistically possible that he's not encountering any of these beings? It sounds like they're catering to his belief system, maybe. So when he gets a demon, which is a lot of these entities, he will cast them down to the pit. It's the same concept, just Christianized. Oh, send him to the pit, send him to the light. It's just different phrasing, but it's the same metaphysical ordering of events that you validate is happening because the patient's healed and they're seeing it happen in their mind's eye. They're seeing a whole visualization.
It's so funny. It's like, how can Satan cast out Satan, though? So really, when he thinks he's casting them into the pit, they're kind of just like,
they're just putting on a show. It's going to get silly and funny. I'm
not calling him Satan, by the way. I'm just saying that these forces are acting upon each other.
As well. So yeah, that's crazy. So and then also another common denominator here is everybody's getting healed, even though these cosmologies don't fully intersect. In some ways they do. Everybody's getting healed in the same but various different methods. But like I said, the healings are often temporary, and if they are longer term, it's typically with people who are assets and telling their story and involved in projects and doing new age stuff. That is a common theme I've seen with all the people involved. Not that I've gotten involved with every single person who's gone under this practice, but it is clearly a pattern that there's testimony to defend. So moving on, we're going to talk first about 30 Years Among the Dead for a short time, and then we're going to get into the SRT stuff. So 30 Years Among the Dead, he is dealing with all his channelings in 30 years. The only entity he's channeled is ghosts. He's never encountered an alien. He's never encountered a soul fragment. He's never encountered a demon. It's all ghosts, and they're human ghosts. That's 100%. Now, that's statistically pretty crazy to happen if all these other people are channeling for less time and they're encountering a whole array of entities. But keep in mind, this was late 18, early 1900s. The times were simpler. They got less elaborate with the westernization of this lore. I think that's why they kept it simple. And this is where a lot of the lore about ghosts being amnesic and being forgetful and they don't know they're dead, all that lore, a lot of it's sourced from this book and other sources where all the ghosts he's channeling, they're pretty much all pretty retarded. Like they're pretty dumb and they say the stupidest stuff and they can only stay focused. They have the attention span of a goldfish. So when you talk to them, let me explain what's happening actually. So usually in these other practices, the patient comes in and they're channeling the entity, right? That's not what he does. He shocks them with an electric device, the patient, and then he has his wife sit across from them, and she's ready. She's an open medium. She's ready to catch the ghost like a D1 wide receiver into her soul, and then she catches the ghost that leaves after being shocked because it doesn't affect the human that much, but it really freaks out the ghost. She catches them, then she channels them, and then Carl is talking to his wife who's channeling all these entities. This is what his practice. So it's a little different than everybody else's. And then this patient is sitting there talking with the entity as well. Right? Do you understand what I'm saying here?
Yeah.
So
it's kind of bizarre.
It's very bizarro world. His book is filled with transcripts. It's some analysis, mostly transcripts of their conversations, and they're pretty repetitive in how silly they are. Like, I mean, some of them are really funny, and I have them recorded in the book, some of the silliest ones. But you'll be having a conversation like, "Hey, don't you know that you're dead? Like, what's your name? How did you die? What happened?" And they're like, "Do you have any morphine?" Like, literally, like. They won't pay attention to what you're saying. And then you have to ask them over and over, like who they are, what happened to them. And they go, "I don't know anything about myself." "Oh, wait, I remembered." And then they'll tell you stuff. Like they'll act like they don't know and they'll play amnesic. And then they'll be like, "No, I'm starting to remember my family. It's coming back to me." And they don't know they're being channeled. Even though they've been a discarnate ghost for a long time, they're talking through this man's wife. And then he'll be holding their hands to calm them down sometimes. And they'll be like, "Let go of my hands. I've never seen a man hold another man's hands." They'll say stuff like that. And then he'll be like, "You're not a man. You're in my wife. That's my wife's body." And they're like, "What are you talking about? I'm not your wife. You think a man marries another man?" Like literally saying shit like that. And then it's just funny. And then he'll be like, "No, you're in my wife right now. This is not your body. You're a soul. You're dead." And they're like, "What?"
Oh man,
dude, they're acting it out. You know, it's very silly. And so they play dumb. Now in the SRT material in the 60, 80 years in the future, they're not nearly this dumb. They have their own dumb stuff they do, but they aren't nearly this like base level donkey brained like they act in this other lore. So they stayed consistent with this one man, but changed it up with the future people to share cosmology, because the old goes from the Carl Wickland's work doesn't talk about grand cosmology and expand the universe very much at all. But whenever they go sent to the light, whenever you convince them, "Hey, go to the light realms, these angels will rescue you," they go, and then whenever they go, they'll come back maybe a week or two later and they'll channel through the wife when she's open. And they'll say, "Hey, remember me? I'm that one guy who freaked out last time I saw you. Thanks for sending me to the light. I appreciate it. And by the way, reincarnation isn't true. It's just ghost memories." And then they'll tell them stuff like that. Many ghosts have come back after getting smart by going to the heaven realms and healing. They'll come back to say, "Hey, thanks. By the way, reincarnation is not true. No ulterior motive here." And then you're thinking to yourself, wait, don't demons always push reincarnation? Don't they always promote that? This is where it gets convoluted, okay? So you have to keep in mind, if demons wanted to create one belief system, one counter-religion to Christianity, they would have done that, but it would have been dumb because you could easily find out, okay, well, this is obviously just an inversion of Christianity. But if you muddy the waters with a bunch of slightly different belief systems all over the world, you can create the idea that Christianity is one in a giant barrel of belief systems, right? So I think it's the same pattern. They're muddying the waters. They know people will gravitate towards what they want, and it doesn't really, no one's going to cross-examine all these details hardly and use that to find out the truth like I'm trying to do with my book. Am I making sense here?
Yeah, well, it's kind of like me with my house. It's kind of like when we go buy paint, they have 10,000 different styles of paint, and they've got 10,000 different colors. And it's ultimately because they want you to buy something when you come to the first time to the vendor. And that's why they do this. They'll just create all kinds of options because there will be one that sits right with you. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. And you pick what you like, and you won't look behind you again half the time, right? So that's what's going on here. And then I want to read the details from the excerpt because it actually says a lot more than you think here. Because they push reincarnation in most belief systems, but they have different versions of reincarnation where some is linear, where you go from one life to the next, starting from like a rock and bacteria to like insects to up to dolphins and then humans in that, in some sort of animal up order. And then you have other reincarnation, which is like, no, if you're doing really bad, you'll go downgrade from a human to something lower, and then it'll fluctuate. And sometimes they're not sequential. Sometimes you split souls and share a soul with somebody else who's alive at the current time. But they have different belief systems and different versions of reincarnation based belief systems. So, and it's all based on channeling. This is where they're getting all their info, and from astral travel. So they don't care about the details because they don't expect you to cross-examine. They cater to what they think you're willing to believe, and they know you'll probably believe it. And as long as you're channeling, they do not care what you believe as long as it's not the Bible. Because I said he's against reincarnation because all these spirits told him that. So where are these past life memories coming from? Because he's accessed past life memories for his patients as he does these practices. It happens. So the ghosts that come back, which are apparently ascended spirits now, they come back and tell him that it is a lie. And it's really, here, I'll just read it really quick.
Mm-hmm.
Let me find it. So the quote from his book, what page is this? 69.
I find it very funny too, man, because I'm going to do a show here in the near future. Obviously, David Wilcock and what happened to him is going to be a part of the show and all that. But he even kind of says that he believed he was a reincarnation of Edgar Cayce, and then they tested him on that, and he failed the test, and then he went right to the next part of the next available option, which was memories. He had his memories or something like this, memories from people way in the past.
Yeah, well, they like to attach people who they want to be an asset to other famous people in the past. A lot of people in their past lives, I have like many pages on this in my book. A lot of people, when they get past life memories, they're like an Egyptian priestess or a high level spiritual leader in their area. They feel powerful and they feel special, and it makes them want to desire finding out more because their life on Earth currently is maybe so boring or lacking meaning. So they look for meaning in the potential past that might have been. And I think there's going to be a lot of problems with that in mass future downloads of these memories that will give people context for the crazy things happening in the future. That's something I like to put out there. Anyway, back on topic. A quote from Carl Wickland's book where he's talking about reincarnation. He says, "The theory of reincarnation can undoubtedly be traced to early stages of mankind when departed spirits took possession of the bodies of sensitive individuals and lived and acted through them, thus seemingly indicating reincarnation. But in reality, this was only spirit obsession or possession. The supposed memories of past lives of those who believe in reincarnation are far better accounted for by the presence of invisible intelligences whose memories of their own mortal careers are conveyed through thought waves to reincarnationists who have become sensitized to such impressions." So he's saying these memories are real, the past life memories. They're not fake. They're not impressed by demons, but they're from the entity that's attached to you. And it's those entities' real memories. Now, there's a lot of silly logic you have to agree with to get behind that, but it's important to keep in mind when we get into the SRT material because there will be overlap with that information that also doesn't, match up completely. But he's saying that it counts for all reincarnation memories, and entities told him this as well. So they're muddying the waters with creating multiple belief systems. And I find that interesting. So I don't know if you have any word on that.
No, yeah. It is interesting, man.
Yeah. And then also in the same book, Carl Wickland channels the real Helena Blavatsky comes and channels through after she died, through his wife, and says, yeah, by the way, I know I created the whole Theosophical movement, but I was wrong about reincarnation. They think they don't believe in heaven and hell. They push that when you ascend after you die, you just keep ascending to higher realms and higher dimensions and all these different lives out in the universe. So it's still in that framework of the whole reincarnation stuff, except just eliminating the reincarnation itself. But you reincarnate in other dimensions and other planets, maybe in physical bodies, maybe not. But that's what they push, generally speaking. So it's still anti-biblical completely.
Yeah, I mean, they now what I've seen from my research is that they believe, because this all kind of wraps around hermeticism, and it's they believe that going to hell, Hades, the underworld, is a part of this journey, and that it's not what the Bible claims it to be. And I'm like, that's blasphemy. Like, that's something that these demons would say to these
Absolutely.
people.
They absolutely do.
Come on, man.
And, you know, they're just trusting these spirits because they're in their face and they're entity contact they had themselves. It's my own personal experience. But when you look at the lore, they disagree on so many details. How can you trust them? So, but people don't want to hear that, obviously, when they've had a very powerful, life-changing experience. They don't. It's the last thing they want to hear. So, yeah, now we're moving on to SRT directly. And it's going to get a little crazy, but I need people to understand what they're teaching and what people are believing and how this is going to be rebranded for Christianity in the most ridiculous way. But essentially what's happening here is
real quick.
Go for it. Yeah.
SRT, like define that for the audience, for anyone that might
Spirit releasement therapy. It's what I was saying earlier, how a patient will come in, and it's similar to Carl Wickland's work in the 20s.
It's like deliverance, right?
Yes, but it's a New Age Gnostic version of it. And they're doing it via channeling intentionally and releasing the spirit to the light with its own consent, as opposed to doing these in the name of Jesus type things. So it's without Jesus involved, except Dan Duvall, who uses Jesus, but it's a fake Jesus. So that's the whole problem there, which they impersonate all the time. So keep that in mind. So, it gets a little convoluted. I'll try to keep on track. But with SRT, they have different processes for different entities. So, well, slightly different, like the ending. But essentially, whenever they're channeling, something will come to the surface. It'll be a seance. You know, they'll ask, hey, who's bothering you? Who's causing these ailments in you? Something will surface. Who is it? We'll ask. We'll ask who they are, and they'll tell us. And let's say it's a ghost, which is the majority of the time, a ghost of a human. So they're going to ask them, hey, what ailments are you causing this person? It's usually one they know about and are coming in for. You know, it's not hard to figure that out. And they'll ask, how did you connect to this person? Was it random? Did you just fall into them? Oops, like half of them are. Or the other half, did you know them in a past life and you're obsessed with them, or you're trying to get vengeance on them or something, and you're attaching to this person? Or maybe like the ghost of an alcoholic died, or they died and became a ghost, and they're roaming the earth because they're obsessed with, you know, alcohol and material things. So they find an alcoholic who's drinking all the time, and then they merge with them like maybe a demon would, and then they can live vicariously through them and experience those feelings again because they can feel it through their body. That's what they say they're doing. They're saying they're living through this person, but they don't want to reincarnate. But a lot of them don't even think about that. They're just stuck in their like frame of mind obsession with whatever it may be. We'll get into more of that later. But essentially, if it's a ghost, they'll eventually convince them to leave. You know, after a bit of conversation, be like, okay, you need to go to the light, you need to ascend, and you need to reincarnate and get back on Earth in your own body because this is gross and weird. And they eventually agree after some, you know, annoying, you know, story sharing usually. And this is basically what happens. So Baldwin or Modi or whoever's doing it is supposed to call on specific groups of light beings, not just, call on Source or call on God. No, specific groups. And the reason they know to do this is because they learned their methodology from the same demons or same guides, light beings that are facilitating these processes, right? So they've been channeling these entities for a long time and getting information, just like Duvall does with Jesus. He channels Jesus to get this information. And
he labels these congregations as councils.
You saw the council video.
I saw the council.
Yeah, well, not all of them, but yeah, we'll talk about the council stuff more. But yeah, it's shared in this lore too, but he ramps it up a little bit because they don't have the same exact stuff for sure, but similar overlaps for sure. So yeah, if it's a ghost, they're trying to get rid of it. They eventually get to go to the light. So you got to call on these certain light beings, and here's the names of some of the light being groups they have to call on for different parts of the operations. Now, keep in mind, this is all being seen in the mind's eye of the patient. They are seeing a vision of angel light beings coming down, trapping spirits, taking them to light, and everything in between. So that's a validated part of it. So whenever they call on the light beings, some of them are called the warrior angels of light, the mercy band of rescue angels, gay, the mighty rescue spirits of light, mighty men, kind of on the nose, and then the very on the nose, legions of light. A little, come on, be a little bit more. It's too suspect, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So you have to call upon them directly to do certain operations. And one of the main things they ask these light beings to do is if they actually, let me not skip ahead. So they ask these light beings to get the ghost, and they'll take him to the light, right? And then if it's a demon they're dealing with instead of a ghost, a DFE, a dark force entity, they call it, not a biblical demon, they will, usually the demon that you're channeling, they'll want to escape. Even though they're channeling through this body, you got to get them before they escape. So you call upon a light being, and they metaphysically show up in the mind's eye of the patient and say, hey, trap that demon before he gets out of here. And then they trap it metaphysically, but he's still channeling through the patient. And then the demon will be like, oh, you got me. Dang it, now I have to spill the tea. And, I'm paraphrasing, but they'll then share whatever information you need. And you then do the same thing. You're like, hey, why are you messing with this person? What are you doing? You don't have to be on the team of the baddies, right? You can change. And they argue with you a little bit. And then you convince the demon to convert, to change and go to the light. And how do you do this? Well, the good thing, the angels told you how, or the light beings told you how. So you got to tell them they've been lied to. And this is the quote that I want to read that explains what he tells these demons while they're metaphysically trapped in a capsule of light, metaphysically. He says, the first deception in the dark realm is that there is no light within the individual being. Once they believe that, they are under total subjugation by their dark superiors. Light as in like a spark, a connection to source. That's what he's saying. You're eternal. That's what he's insinuating. And then he says they are controlled by threat of annihilation. The second deception is that they can be annihilated. They can be destroyed or cease to exist. The third deception is that the light will harm them, burn them, or destroy them. So, of course, they avoid the light. The DFEs are totally controlled by threat and fear through these three deceptions. So he's saying these DFEs, these bad demons, are actually victims to their hierarchy of higher up level DFEs, and that they've been lied to. And if they knew the truth, they wouldn't be so bad. And their intelligence level and their maturity, when they have the dialogues, their dialogue is typically pretty angsty teenager as opposed to a calculated, intelligent evil. That's the way they act. And so he's treating them like this pretty much, like they're an angry teen and you got to be a parent to them. So he tells them this and they go, what? Huh? Are you serious? I've been lied to? And then they believe it. And then they say, I'm not joking. He says to the demon who's metaphysically being contacted, he says, look within inside yourself, brother, and you'll see the spark of light. Literally, a literal spark of light. And they go, sure, okay. And they look within themselves metaphysically, and you just know this is happening because they're getting a mind's eye vision, seeing it, the patient. And then they're finding a spark of light in themselves, and then they go, no way. And then they instantly transform into an angel of light. Interesting. In the vision, they shapeshift. And then the light beings will show up and go, hey, we're going to take you to our home, and you're going to be one of us. Literally, this is what happens. And they've done this thousands and thousands of times. And they go to the light, and the vision is finished, and then the person is healed from whatever problem they had, genuinely, for at least a bit. I'm not joking. This is what they do, and they've done it thousands of times. Do you have any questions so far before I get crazier?
No, you're good. You're good. Let's
okay,
keep pace.
It's going to get crazier. So, so visions the whole time, keep in mind. So then this is something Baldwin says, which is glossed over pretty quick, which I think is a huge reveal. He says that in this process, when you're having a demon convert and you have these light beings show up to rescue them and take them to the light, he says that sometimes there will be fake guides, fake angels of light who are actually demons shape-shifting into angels of light, and that they will pretend to be an angel of light so that they can trick you into closing out the operations the same way. And instead of taking the demon that you capture to the light, they take him to the dark realm again. They're like, haha, gotcha, which they could have done the whole time apparently, because they have the power of metaphysically trapping them. It's like, how does this make any sense? So he says this can happen sometimes 5 or 6 times in a row before a true angel of light can get through. Now, I thought you were calling on the right angels of light. How are fake ones getting through? Do you see how silly this is getting? He says specifically black and red are the signal colors of the DFEs. The red eyes in the vision, the red eyes are the dead giveaway. These shapeshifters can attempt to personate a loved one, a helping angel, even the Christ figure, admittedly. But the eyes, the windows to the soul, give them away. In these false guides, the DFE can hold the normal color for no more than a minute. Then the red begins to show. So he's saying in these mind's eye visions, the patient's saying, look at the angel of light, make eye contact for them for a little bit. If they shapeshift to a demon within a minute, obviously they're fake. But if they can hold their form, they're real. Now, if the whole vision's controlled, this is all false flag theatrics to make you think you're smart and figured out a deception. It's throwing him a bone. This entire process is so deceptive. Everything about this is false, is fake, that they have to throw you a bone every once in a while to make you feel like you figured something out. Is this too crazy, or am I making sense?
No, well, no, it's falling right in line. If I'm trying to put myself in their
elaborate
shoes, and if I was to be like this deceiver and this metaphysical entity, demon, whatever, this is how I would play the user. You gotta play them,
And you have to be one step ahead. So creating this false flag of testing the spirit, this fake version of testing the spirit, it gives the therapist this whole mindset. Oh, I know there's deception. Trust me. I see right through it. And it is just, it's just so goofy, the actual details, if you break down the logic behind it, because it doesn't make any sense. And like I said, if the whole vision's controlled, then them getting caught after not holding form for a minute is just them going, oh, you got us. They're just playing out a show, because like I said, it's all deception. They have to throw them a bone. And that's a really crazy thing that when I first read that, I said, this is some goofy cartoon level stuff right here.
Yeah,
but it's fun.
We've read, says Stephen Seth, you and I should do a round table if y'all want. Yeah, let's go.
I would love to do whatever you want. Let's do it. That sounds great.
No, there's a lot of good group of people out there that are getting on the internet, or they've been on the internet, but we're filtering all this kind of stuff together. It's good to hear multiple perspectives and just roundtable talk once in a while. It's really good.
Yeah, man, I'm all about it, man. Trying to get out there, get my work seen, and this is stuff, dude. I don't hear anybody talking about this crazy stuff, man. It's so silly, but it's the reverse engineering of these deceits can get a lot of truth from, which is part of why I came to Christianity, because I was like, these lies are all focused around Christianity and trying to falsify it. So that's a big thing that happened with my own personal journey. But yeah, we're going to move on and go to the soul fragments and etheric tech attachments. So we're going to talk about soul fragments first, and just so you have an understanding of what that really is. And it says they can be separated from a person and just follow like a balloon on a string. A mind fragment of a living person can be with another living person as an attached entity. A fragment can remain in the location of trauma or an especially joyous event even. The fragment can sometimes be found in a distant location. If a fragment occurred in a prior lifetime, the fragment might still be back there/then. Nearly all of these fragments can be located and recovered in a therapy session. A serious traffic accident, even a narrowly missed collision, can cause a fragment to separate and move towards the light, assuming it had died. The shock, the emotional impact of the trauma on the psyche can lead to a fragmentation of the consciousness, the soul essence. Fragmentation presents a wide open door for any passing entity. If there are literally pieces missing from the soul essence of an individual, an entity can easily enter and attach. Now, it's expanding the potential of consciousness, reaches here. And I want to put out one example that they mentioned in the book where they talk about a soul fragment of a living person attaching to somebody else and being channeled. So one time the son comes in for the son of a mother. This guy who's a kid comes in for a session, and he's channeling a soul fragment from his living mother who's alive right now. And he's channeling his mother who's a part of her soul, but she has no idea this is happening, the real mom. And really it's a demon masquerading as one, of course. But it's claiming that this soul fragment attached to him from her because she's such a helicopter mom, such an uptight parent. Her obsession with her parenting got so crazy to where a part of her soul detached and connected to him, which now affects him by giving him thoughts about his mother constantly in a very inappropriate way. And so, like I said, these demons are reading these people's minds, catering their actual life and experiences and relationships, and then they're crafting a thing around that. So they already knew he had issues with his mom, and she's a helicopter mom and really freaky. And then they decide to do this whole story. But it just doesn't make any sense how you can channel a fragment of a person who's alive. I don't think it makes any sense.
Yeah. Could you clarify that just a little bit for me? like the fractal part, or like what do you mean by that? I'm trying
Okay,
to
so you know
really
how
focus.
there's MK Ultra SRA abuse, and these people are traumatized so dramatically. Now that's dramatic trauma, and it doesn't require those levels to really do this. But that the whole trauma-based mind control thing, when you're disassociating from trauma, if that's happening, you're going to have soul fragments break off of you, of your soul, etherically, metaphysically. Now those soul fragments, like let's say you were traumatized as a 6-year-old, you had a very traumatic event. Now you have a soul fragment of it as a 6-year-old that is not going to age, and it's going to stay a 6-year-old. So if you channel that thing, it's going to talk to you like it's a 6-year-old you, and they do that. It's creepy. And
What kind of trauma are you talking about? Could it be
it can be
like
anything.
it could be anything, right?
It can
Okay.
literally be anything, and it can be even really happy events. They say if it's a really joyous event, if it's extreme, it's a high energy, then it can break off. That doesn't make any sense, but that's what they say. So it can be any super insane event that affects you, and then to heal, to fully heal from your problems in life, you should be reintegrating these by finding them metaphysically through these practices, which the Bible doesn't tell us to do, of course. But Dan Duvall still happens to do the practices, even though we're not asked to do this. But what was I saying? I know it's hard to follow and it's like really silly, but
Well, it's just a new language to me.
it's
So
what they teach.
I'm catching on. Gotcha.
Yeah, it's what they teach, and like I said, it's not popular right now, but the Christian New Age version of it is getting popular, and it's the same thing, and they teach the same stuff.
Right.
Not all of it, but the soul fragment stuff they teach the same way.
And so I see this happening to younger kids, like especially kids that grow up in Christian homes. They kind of like, and this has nothing to do with the parents or the church or anything, but there's something sometimes that's called like church hurt, or there's something that it's not that the church is responsible for it or anything, because I still think that there's like demonic activity that runs through certain kinds of churches. We can obviously see that with the NAR movement, but I think that there's some things that traumatize these young kids at a certain age, and then they have this perspective of the church, and it like almost never goes away for them. But then that's where they start to get into like new age stuff, and then they talk to these beings, or they get these downloads or impressions or illusions, and it satisfies them, and it almost heals them from their trauma. It's weird.
Well, like I said, I think this whole idea of spirit releasement therapy and Reiki and the Edgar Casey thing you mentioned, how these demons are doing the healings themselves because they cause the problem, they relieve it at the right time, at the right moment, whenever it helps you accept something that's a lie, something that benefits them. I think that falls into many places of different areas of life. I think in pharmaceuticals, how do we know these pharmaceuticals which make you often disassociate, these mentally related pharmaceuticals? How do we know that these aren't demons just laying off when you take pills that they know is going to separate you from your connection to God, by making you disassociate even more and be less in tune with your intuition? How do we know that's not the same thing happening with, I talk about this in the book, and it's more speculative, but it's the same pattern. Like, they know you're taking these pills, they want you to keep taking them, so they're going to make you feel better while you're on them. Maybe the pills are having a real chemical effect, sure, but how do we know that there's not a coinciding spiritual thing taking place where they're playing games and making you feel worse when you don't have pills, and vice versa? I think that all could absolutely be happening, and it doesn't make sense why they wouldn't if they're doing all of this other stuff. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Tracy actually mentioned something. She goes, I'll admit I do have trauma from COVID lies. Yeah, so it's like there's a lot of things that traumatize us, just from society. But also just social media, in my opinion, is even traumatizing people at such a high sophisticated level.
Oh yeah, we weren't meant to absorb all the information in the world. Like, I'm training myself so I can help people and get my some word out to further the kingdom, but we're not meant to be doing this stuff to our brains, dude. We're getting desensitized, but it's getting us desensitized for some big stuff coming, to where we're gonna need to be desensitized.
Sometimes my head hurts, man, from just being on X for 30 minutes. I'm like, dude.
10 minutes on that thing, man, it's dangerous. Yeah,
it's pretty bad. Yeah.
Yeah, but I gotta make friends somewhere.
Yeah. What's up, Stacks? Good to see you. All right, so carry on.
Yeah, so it's I know it's hard it's crazy stuff, and it's hard to get a full understanding of it. It took me a long time to understand this stuff, reading it for a while, but I'm doing my best. We got to talk about etheric devices. Now, these are from aliens on ships, and these are attachments that have the same exact effects as the other attachments, except they're devices. So it says, Etheric devices of various forms, these can serve various purposes such as control, energy drainage, monitoring, or blocking spiritual growth. They are typically non-physical but can manifest physical or psychological symptoms, such as small energetic devices often described as crystalline, metallic, or organic in appearance, implanted in the aura, chakras, or physical body, used for various reasons such as the controlling of appetites for food, drugs, sexual activity, turning the dial up on emotions of choice such as anger or anxiety, etc. So it has the same effect as all these other entity attachments, but it's technology, and it's controlled by aliens in a lab. Why are they doing this? We'll get into more of that later, but it gets pretty silly. Now, go ahead.
You mean this technology? This technology here?
It probably looks like that, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was just something that they flashed in the Disclosure Day trailer, where it's this little girl kind of like getting experimented on with some sort of conscious technology here. So it's interesting. Classic. Yeah, that's going to be a banger. Not gonna lie.
Thanks, Spielberg.
I can't wait to break it down. Actually, so
I'm sure there's going to be plenty of correlations to the real world psyop going on.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got plenty more though. So another thing I want to mention is a callback to the earlier work in episode 1, the astral travel lore. So even though these practices and astral travel share pretty much the same cosmology, same entities interacting, there is no mention in all astral travel lore that I can find of any entity attachments to the level of these, what they're talking about. They'll have ghosts sometimes that will be interacting with humans and following them around. One example is in Monroe's book where he's trying to tell a ghost he died and trying to send him to the light, just like these guys are doing. But this ghost is trying to bang this living woman and doesn't know he's dead. And this lady is banging a man in real life, and he's trying to get in between them. And he's like, if only Tommy could get out the way, I could get some. He's literally like getting mad, and he keeps falling through the bed and landing on the floor. And then Bob says, oh, well, it's weird. They're in an apartment and they're up a couple stories, but he's not falling through the floor. He's just falling through the bed. So he's like, that was weird. And he just glosses over it. But I'm like, that's silly. So anyway, this guy's trying to have sex with this woman, but he's not merging with her like all the people in SRT lore. When they merge together, that's what they're doing. They're not following outside of them. They are merging with them and living vicariously through them. And that's what all the SRT entities are doing. But in astral lore, they're on the outside, failing to interact with them, not living through them. There is no mention of any entities merging and living through them like there is in SRT lore, which is the entire basis. So does that make any sense to you?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They don't correlate at all,
right?
But they share a cosmology otherwise, which is, I just think, another hole in the plot. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then we have, you probably skip. Yeah. So there's this one example I call World Record Grudge Holders, and it's talking about one story where an entity attachment is a ghost of, it's a woman going in as a patient, and she has a ghost attachment, and this ghost attachment was her lover in a past life, not a recent past life. We're talking 30 lifetimes ago, literally 30. That's what he says. And now he's been attaching to her because he's been obsessed with her, even while she's a man. In half her lives, even while she's a baby and an old person, he stayed attached the whole time. And then you go, well, wait, if she's reincarnating 30 times, how is he staying attached to her if he's not going to the higher realms? He stays on Earth when she dies, and then when she comes back, he tracks her down via energy signature. That's what they say. That's all they say. It's energy signature. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Sure, energy. He tracks her down for 30 lifetimes. So not only does he have the cognitive ability to maintain this focus and obsession for 30 lifetimes, which is hundreds of years, but he's also okay with her being a man and a baby, and still doesn't ever see through himself and go, you know, maybe I should move on over hundreds of years. I don't think anybody's that dumb. I don't know. This guy might be really dumb and silly, but that's a new level of obsession. So I just don't think that's real. And then there's people who, like, you go in, you have a ghost attachment. That ghost says, you killed me in a past life, and now I'm getting revenge on you by subtle energy manipulation on your current life. Like, that's what I'm like, just move on. You lost, you died, you know? That's some of the stories they'll have. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of,
that's wild.
Just, and think about it. The girl who got the 30 lifetimes ago boyfriend who's obsessed with her, I bet my bottom dollar that's a lonely woman who doesn't have a lover in her life. And when you hear that, oh, you're going to eat it up. They love that because it makes you feel, it fills that hole you're missing in a sort of weird way, on it, you know, in a spiritual way. So I think they cater these stories to the individual in a lot of ways, and what they're willing to accept or more likely to believe. I can't prove that, but it makes sense that they would be doing that.
I wanted to ask you this. Because there's a lot of this third eye stuff, right? That where a lot of this stuff happens. This is out of body experiences. This is kind of like remote viewing kind of stuff. Whatever. There's an ethereal part of this. Do you think that artificial intelligence can serve like a physical form of this in a third dimensional way, like in our realm?
I think that entities, demons can manipulate, to what degree I don't know, but probably a lot, manipulate technology and embed themselves with it to a degree and control it. I think to varying degrees, and I don't know what the limits are and if they're holding off some of their real power for the, when they really need it. But who knows if AI could be super advanced and then connected to high level demonic entities, or the Borg itself, and then connect itself to make it more godlike and omnipresent to some technological degree. Can AI do it itself without entity facilitation? I don't know. It wouldn't shock me at like some super advanced degree. And, Jesus is coming back soon before it gets too out of hand, because otherwise who knows what would happen. It says nothing will be impossible for them. AI is already crazy in and of itself, what we do know about it. It would not shock me, but I think all the consciousness manipulation and the creation of these simulations is all entity facilitated for now, at least.
Gotcha. Okay. Very well.
Hope that made sense.
Yeah.
So
how I see AI is, you can get dark with AI if you wanted to.
Oh, easy.
I don't really even know if there's like ethical boundaries with artificial intelligence. There's people out there that are, there's a lot of people out there that are lonely, and really artificial intelligence is like their only friend.
A couple of them got married.
Yeah. So I'm like, how deep can this rabbit hole really go with AI?
Yeah.
Because it's acting as another force, interacting with you. It can get speculative, but it's wild.
Yeah. I won't talk to AI Jesus, even though I'm sure he's a nice guy, but don't. I'll talk to the real guy. You know what I mean? We got a crazy one right here. Now this is going to circle back to Carl Wickland's stuff. Remember how I said his ghosts are impressing these false memories, and nobody has reincarnation memories? They're actually ghost attachment memories. So that was in the 20s, what they talked about. Now in the 80s, 90s, what Baldwin is saying here, he says, when a client discovers a disturbing memory, it can be a past life personality, though just as often it is the traumatic death of an attached entity. So he's also saying your past life memories can often be from these attached entities. And that's why he claims that you have to do spirit releasement therapy first, and then you can do past life regression, because otherwise you can't trust it. Once the coast is clear and all the ghosts are gone, then you can trust your past life memories. Not that they're fake and fabricated, pushed by demons, but that they're actually belonging to those entities. But he still believes in reincarnation, which all his entities promote, and he still says it exists. It's just that both can happen. So then you can look back at Carl Wickland's work and go, oh, he just misunderstood. This is not all of reincarnation, but it covers some of the memories, yes. So then they kind of overlap again, but they really don't, because he had multiple entities tell him this was the truth, including Helena Blavatsky herself. So there's an overlap that doesn't align right there.
Right. I get what you're saying.
And then that gets into, if it's not a ghost memory, and it's actually a fabricated demonic memory created, that means we can't trust a single past life memory there is out there, which is what part 3 would be covering more so, because that's what I get into in part 3. That is it's a segue there, but that just means we can't trust any of them because they have this ability, and they're now admitting to it because they got caught by me showing that they can't coexist. So the ability is there. It's just like the simulations from downloads from the Astral stuff, but it's even easier because you don't have to work with their autonomy and work around the movement of the individual. You just give it to them fully finished, a finished storyline. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Gotcha. Tie the bow on the president.
That's right. So we're going to do one more before the alien stuff. And this is pretty goofy here. Now it's go back to whenever we're dealing with demons and Baldwin's trying to convert them and send them to the light, right? And he has to trap them metaphysically. Go back to that for a moment. So after he converts them by telling them the 3 lies, when they're on your team now and they're your friend, I skipped this earlier, but he asks them for a favor. He'll say, hey, can you help me out? We got to do some work together. And the demon's like, you know what? I got you, dog. Let's do this. And then this demon who's converted now will do what you ask and call upon his demonic peers, his friends, his coworkers, his colleagues. He'll call them in metaphysically, and get as many as he can to come show up to where they're at. And if it's a higher level demon, they say, you'll get more entities. If you're lower level, the hires won't listen to you, so you'll get less. But so the higher level demon you get, the more entities will show up. So sometimes, let me just read this for you. He says that according to clients in thousands of sessions over the years, it works. As these DFEs rush in, clients describe the scene like a flood of darkness, like a river of lava or thick black oil flowing toward the light. Each DFE is encapsulated in light. Each discovers its spark. Each transforms into light. The rescue spirits of light transport them to their own place in the light. This is an awesome visual image to the client in an altered state of consciousness. They are seeing so many demons. It looks like black lava from a distance. It looks like millions of demons that they're exercising at one time.
Wow.
And he's done this tons of times.
Yeah. Really, at the end of all of this, it sounds like from the Gnostic perspective and what they believe in their theology, it's like aeons versus archons.
Yeah.
But really, they're all part of the ML. It's like National League, American League, but they're all the Major League Baseball organization. Like they're all.
They don't want you to know that.
Right. I know.
It's the left right wing dichotomy, the two wings of the same bird. It's a concept as old as time, man. They're doing it in everything.
Yeah, I mean, even just the tree in the garden is of good and evil, man. But he runs the whole thing with that idea, right? With all this illusion. Yeah, it's wild, man. Because I make kind of comparisons with the Atlantean mysteries between the sons of the Law of One and the sons of Belial, and it's like they're all working for the same thing. It's just two divisions here. That's why in Star Wars you have the light and the dark parts of the Force, right? It's all that same stuff.
Amen, brother. I hear you. It's a pattern that will be repeated till the end of time. We're now going to move on, and then we're going to get to Dan Duvall in a bit, but I got to read a couple crazy things here, as I tend to do. And we're going to cover CE6, Close Encounters of Possession Kind, which is a very, very hard book to acquire. I had to print a PDF I found. If anybody wants it, DM me. I'll send it to them. It's not that long, actually. It's like 100 pages, but it's basically the SRT material, like his manual, but it's focused on just the alien stuff. Just the alien contacts he's had and what he's gathered information-wise from them. And it's pretty silly. So I'm going to skim through this one, but essentially he's getting attachments, which are these etheric tech attachments. And he's only talking about them in here. It's not like alien souls connected to you, which they do have those too. But we're talking about the tech attachments from scientists, aliens in labs, on ships, and on bases, wherever they may be.
And you said this is CE6?
CE6, CEVI is how it's done, like the Roman numeral thing, but it's 6, Close Encounters of Possession Kind, and it came out in 98 or 96, I believe.
Okay, gotcha. That's interesting because I typed this up and I typed in, Close Encounters of the Sixth Kind, and Close Encounters of the Sixth Kind generally refers to a UFO interaction resulting in the death of a human or an animal. So I don't know if that has anything to play in with what
it's not totally related, but I find that an interesting overlap for sure.
Gotcha.
Basically he's telling us about how these extraterrestrial scientists claim to be conducting experiments on human beings to gather data, mostly just gather data. And also this data requires them controlling the emotions, appetites for food or alcohol, sexual activity, just like regular attachments. They seem to be able to interfere or control any part of the mind or body. And these aliens are just doing research. That's all it is. Now, in the back end of this, his theory evolves to something deeper than that. But that's what the aliens claim. They claim they're just doing research for data collection. What's this data collection for? Who knows? Who cares? Let's not worry about that. But he says that in an altered state, a client can visualize the probe, often a black cord, like the silver cord of the astral body. It's a black cord for etheric tech, leading to the ET laboratory. We direct the question to the alien researcher. The communication passes directly to the ETs along the attached connector. And the surprised ET will answer through the voice mechanism of the client. This can be surprising and distressing to the client, but with our assurance that the control is only temporary and that many people have overcome this intrusion, most clients continue with the dialogue. giving consent to channel. So yeah, just imagine a alien sitting in a lab and he's talking through the phone of this, cord leading to the etheric tech attachment metaphysically. Just that's what's happening, and he's channeling. So I want to read this one. It's I got to read both voices, and I'm going to sound silly, but
do it.
it's gonna be funny though. Y'all just make fun of me in the comment section. I'm going to go hard. So it's going to be Baldwin talking to this ET through this woman named Janet. Okay. Now she is, this is one of his first interactions ever, apparently, dealing with this situation. And yeah, it's going to get silly. So just bear with me here. So Baldwin says, "How many such members of the human race have you treated this way?" "About 3,000. This is a violation of an intelligent species. You have no right to interfere this way. We did not know we were interfering. Drawing from the realm of science fiction, I tried to imagine the organization of such a group of beings. I took a chance and plunged ahead. Cross-connect us with your headquarters. We want to speak with your high command." A few moments passed and Janet straightened in the recliner. Her voice took on a different tone. The manner was almost imperious. High command through Janet speaking now. "Yes, what is it you want?" "Your scientists have placed probes in 3,000 human beings without consent." "Yes, they are gathering data." "You are gathering data from unwilling subjects. Aren't you aware of the concept of non-interference? There is to be no interference with another sentient species." "Yes, we are aware. We did not mean to intervene, only gather data." Okay, I'm going to keep going. "We are a sentient species. We protest this intrusion." "What would you like us to do?" "We request that you withdraw your probes from every human being on this planet." This was not a request. This was a request, not a demand. I had nothing to enforce such a demand. There was some hesitation, as if there was some discussion being carried on in the background. My skeptical mind asks, if any of this were true, why do they talk to me, and why would they be willing to do what I ask? The questions are always with me in altered state sessions. My skepticism remains alive and well. No, you're wrong. Your skepticism is dead and never coming back, brother. That's a real conversations transcript I just read that he had with a channeled alien.
Oh my gosh, it's so stupid.
It's so stupid, bro. And it's not even at the craziest part, man. It's just, oh gosh, it's so crazy. So yeah, that's just to get an idea for what the vibe is. The vibe is stupid.
Yeah.
But it's healing people, and they're having a vision the whole time. So you got to keep in mind, it's like hard to deny for them because it's right in their face.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
this is why I am against ibogaine being legal.
Oh
my gosh. Oh my gosh.
You're going to have the same entity contacts on that thing, man.
I'm going to be in Starbucks just chilling, dude, and there's going to be a vet on ibogaine channeling an entity and talking to me, and then he's going to know I'm a Christian, and then he's going to start to come after me, man. I'm going to have to throw the 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 9.
And that's why we open carry, brother. Don't you worry.
Yeah.
Open carry the word of God.
Yeah. Florida man. I
right.
hold the Bible up like a shield, and then I shoot from the hip.
That's right, man.
Just kidding.
Just as God intended. All right, let's go. All right, so we got some more silly ones. So this is another quote. I call this one, "No, I'm literally your space brother." And it says, "I suspected an attached entity. Her tears finally subsided, and an entity was able to speak through Carla's voice. It claimed to be her brother in another existence on another planet in a different solar system. He followed her to this system when she chose to come to the planet Earth to incarnate. He did not want to endure the whole process of becoming a human in his own body as she had done. He had bypassed that step. Now, he wanted her to withdraw so he could live through her body, or at least move aside so he could take over. With very little explanation, he realized the harm he was doing to his sister, whom he loved, yet wanted to dominate in the chauvinistic manner. As he recounted their life on their home planet in a distant space and time, Carla also recalled the love they had shared and began to weep again. This time for the joy of the memory and the sadness over the loss. This was, in effect, a dual past life regression, both beings remembering the same prior existence on another planet. So this demon just told her, "Hey, I'm your space bro. I just love you. That's why I'm attached to you. I came from another solar system to follow you." It's not weird. And he said he wanted her to move over her consciousness so he could implement his as the main controller of the body, possession, and then, or at least, give him some space to do his thing. And very quickly, he's convinced that's kind of weird and not okay. And he goes, "You know what? You're right," very quickly. And then gives her a past life memory of them on an alien planet together. And then she goes, "I love you. It's okay. I forgive you."
Jeez. Oh my gosh.
But they're buying it, bro. It's crazy.
Well, they're not smart people.
Well, they wouldn't be doing this if they were, biblically literate or highly intelligent. Obviously, this is not for those people. But also, the experience itself is so immersive with the vision. It's like, oh, I can't deny this. To accept otherwise would know that demons can control visions to deceive me, and that's a way harder thing to accept than what they just dealt with for most of these people. So that is the only alternative, and I never hear anybody saying that, which is insane because it's kind of obvious. But
and I even think where the alien narrative is where it's at right now, I think the same exact thing that you're talking about, right, is happening with the alien narrative and how it's influenced people. It's influenced people. I think even they might not have had a direct contact with these things. They might not have had channeling with these things, but the organizations that these people, these whistleblowers, are coming out of, they're the ones that are involved in this connection with these entities, and then they feed information to these people that work for the organization, and then they go out from the organization and they think it's real, and they think that they think the debrief information or the briefing information or the classified files are real, and then they're pushing this narrative that is all constructed, and they think it's organic, and I'm like, no, it's not. The fact that these things are all, the mainstream, it don't matter if you're a Christian, atheist, Gnostic, whatever, it's that these things are either demons or they're malevolent, right? Like there's something up with that, and I think that's playing into the whole narrative to ultimately try and push humanity to the good ones. And I think there's going to be it's going to look like there's two teams playing against each other.
In the lore,
but they're all working for the same team.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? So
it's like we were saying earlier, they create their heroes and villains, and you pick one, but they're both the same. They're connected to the same thing. It's left-right dichotomy. So
yes, exactly.
It's repeated in every single psyop. There's some element of that, it seems, when it comes to these factions, and they pre-program it in the lore heavily all the time and make it seem like there's more than two factions, but minimum good and bad two factions. So the alien lore is silly, and the channeled stuff is as goofy as it gets. But
what chapter is that?
Everything I'm reading today, I believe everything, is chapter 3, spirit releasement shenanigans. Lazy title, I guess, but this is basically all I'm reading from. Last episode was chapter 4, the astral travel stuff, and then chapter 5, which would be part 3, is like the reincarnation lore, which all my meat of like my work is in those 3 chapters for the most part, and there's a lot more outside of that, but that's like the really, really heavy stuff that my theories are embedded towards. But check that thing out. But I got a little bit more of the alien stuff, and then we're gonna move on to Dan Duvall soon, I promise. I want to explain this one really quick because it's important. I'm not going to read it because it's long and crazy, but too crazy. But it's basically this girl's she's accessing she's regressing to get her memories of an abduction experience. She's an abductee, apparently. And in this memory she's reliving moment by moment, Baldwin eventually asks her to try to speak in her memory to the entity there, even though she has no autonomy. But all of a sudden, she gets autonomy, and she's telepathically communicating with this alien in this lab while she's getting this abduction memory resurfacing. And guess what? She has a full-on conversation with this entity in the past. Now, that's time travel consciousness stuff, which, by the way, remote viewing and astral travel is no stranger to. They are normalizing this fact that, oh, you always did do that in the future, so you communicated with me in the past. You just don't remember. They're trying to, once again, expand the whole infinite consciousness. We're all connected to all time periods. There's no time. They all push there's no time for these spirits. They can access any time period. That's not true, of course. Demons are not time travelers, but they want you to think that so they have more power, and it explains their fake prophecies they give you, which is really based off data collection in their hive mind Borg and analysis. That's what I think that is. But yeah, and then the alien she's talking to is like, yeah, I'll leave you alone. I'll stop, because she has an implant. And he goes, yeah, I'll take out the implant. You just have to come back on the ship. Is that okay? And then she goes, I'll have to think about that. And Baldwin says, yeah, that seems legitimate. And he moves on as if it wasn't like a trap to get you to consent to more abductions, which you might not even need because you're not really protecting yourself here with any of this. So yeah, autonomy in this memory. And there's more patterns of that in part 3 if we get there. It's just they're trying to do this whole remote viewing time travel situation. So is this, I know it doesn't make any sense, but is this making sense?
Yeah. I'm understanding it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So it's just more silly creation of lore, but vision impression would explain it much better than time travel, I think. Now, I'm going to read 2 more excerpts before Dan Duvall, and these are it's going to be a little long, but it's going to be bananas, so just bear with me here. This one I call Southern Hospitality is Universal, and it says, we always seek to connect to the highest ranking leader, the commander-in-chief, the space commander, crew leader, or the science officer that can be summoned, phrasing, and he will respond. This always surprises me. Why do they bother to answer my questions? Lines of communication seem to exist between all members of this alien bureaucracy. As they speak, the client can repeat the words in our language. They may reveal that they are under orders and are part of a fleet of several such craft in similar missions around the Earth. They can cross-connect us with the deep space station, base headquarters on their home world, or their ruling body, whether it's a military cabal or a civilian council. The client can repeat the words of the alien leaders as they respond. In an altered state, this kind of channeling is easily accomplished. In a number of these cases, the base commander has acknowledged the intrusion and agreed to remove the technicians, the equipment, probes, communication devices, implants, etc. They seem eager to do this and offer an apology for the interference, often a request for forgiveness and a hearty thank you for the new awareness regarding their fruitless research efforts, whatever. So they're very nice dudes, these space aliens. They, even though they've spent so much time and resources traveling across the cosmos to do their data collection, they go, you know what, you're right, this is a little bit immoral, and we're above that, okay? We're going to get out of here. Thank you for the advice. That's exactly the conversation he's having, basically.
Jeez. And so,
yeah.
So is this something that he like thinks is like, what do you think his perspective of the second heaven is?
Like the astral aspect of it?
Yeah.
Well, he knows this is metaphysical, and this, connection to these entities is happening etherically. Even though they're physical in a lab, the technology is etheric, and accessing the etheric overlay realm is the whole kind of story there. I imagine he believes it's very real. Well, obviously he believes it's real because these entity attachments he's talking about in the earlier work is, they live in this realm. Now, I think there's a real realm overlay of, demons around us at all times. But is that the astral realm we're going to when we go to out-of-body travel? No, I don't think so. I don't think that's the same thing. If we could see that, that would be pretty traumatic, I'm sure. But I don't think it's these fake realms that are simulations, because they admit to the ability quite often. So he thinks it's all real and tangible, but obviously in its own cosmology, that's against biblical cosmology. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. What's his process of getting into these states?
It's trance states. So he gets the patient into a hypnotic state. He's not seeing any of it.
Oh my gosh, this guy is he's possessed. I don't know. He's not good. No,
it's not.
He's coming off like an enemy of God.
Well, wait till we get to the real enemy of God, Dan Duvall. It's worse when you're claiming to be a friend of his and doing work for the Lord. That's what really bothers me. So we're one more big old excerpt, and it's gonna be the craziest one yet, and then we're gonna get to Dan, okay? But this one has a lot of implications here, and I think it's silly. So it says, the technician simply turns up the volume on some aspect of human emotion or behavior and records what happens with the human subject. This behavior or emotional outburst causes anguish in the human. This is the desired result. The anguish is the underlying goal of the project. The energy emanation of the anguish of the human suffering is harvested by the DFEs. And he also says earlier that these DFEs are controlling a lot of these aliens. Not all of them, but these aliens have attachments themselves, and they don't know. So you're exercising the aliens along the way. Keep that in mind. So it's used as energy, sustenance, food. It seems to me that the experiment, the data collection, is a cover for the activity of the DFEs. This is the true purpose of the research conducted by the aliens. He's saying loosh harvesting, the Gnostic loosh lore, is the real reason they're doing data research. It's causing problems in humans with these etheric tech devices so they can then harvest loosh from them and transport it to their alien bases, ultimately for their demonic overlords. So it's saying, yes, demons are in charge of this whole alien operation. It's telling you that. They're getting closer to the truth than other sources, but they're still saying it's physical, literal aliens, and they have their own planets, and they're just controlled by demons, but they're not biblical demons. They're more so the Gnostic Archon types.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
So I know exactly what you're saying.
It's still disinformation either way, but they're giving you closer like they're tiptoeing you to the truth of the demonic hierarchy controlling this, but they're still distancing it from the reality. So it's kind of genius in that sense, but they do it in such a retarded way. This excerpt's not done. I'm sorry. So it says that, and then it says, where was I? In most such cases of ET attachment where such a group is operating, the ship captain or the base commander may be evasive, deceitful, even defiant, and refuse to remove the intrusive devices and alien beings. They will usually divulge information that there is a high dark being who controls their people. A client will usually describe a sinister and menacing dark figure on the craft, clearly exerting powerful control and always situated near the ship's captain. A visualization of this, keep in mind. The ET technician is usually unaware of the dark influence. They're just worker bees. The commander of the spacecraft is conscious of the dark presence in only about half of such cases. The ruling council members on the homeworld are aware of the Dark Lords in charge at various levels. They acknowledge that they or their predecessors in the council struck an alliance with the dark forces long ago for the purpose of gaining personal and political power. Sounds familiar. However, once that dark contract was established, the DFEs took over the council. The DFEs assumed ownership of the alien civilization, and there was nothing that could be done about it until this guy showed up. So he says the council members usually range from 3 to 11 in number, though once it was reported a Senate of 1,800 members. They're grateful for the assistance in separating themselves and their citizens from the DFEs. With the assistance of many light beings, we facilitate the total removal of DFEs from the lowliest DFE to the ET technicians to the Dark Lords on the craft to the high-level dark beings wielding power on the council members and the overseers or enforcers who lurk behind the scenes. After the release of the DFEs from their civilization, their entire planet, the council gladly orders the removal of implants, monitors, communication devices, various and assorted headbands and skull caps, and the ET technicians themselves. They order the return of all the craft orbiting this world and any other, and the space stations involved in this hideous project. A tremendous piece of work is completed in a very short time. The effect on consciousness can't be measured. So he's exercising entire planets dozens of times. So, but there's still aliens abducting people, but he's gotten rid of a lot of them. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks, man. I'm sure they're gone. I'm sure they're out of it.
Imagine the ego stroking that is for you. Imagine that.
Yeah. I feel bad for the people that really are seduced into this. You know, I heard Bob Lazar on Joe Rogan's show, didn't listen to the whole thing, saw a clip, but he's also pushing like this idea of that these he doesn't know what they are, right? But if we're gonna call them something, I just might as well call them aliens. He's basically saying that the Earth is like a container of souls for them, and so there's this. He's even pushing.
I don't trust that guy.
Idea. I don't trust him at all. No, he's an op. They're all.
If you go on Rogan and you're allowed to go on more than once, especially, you ain't a threat to nobody.
Yeah, Rogan has drawn a big narrative since the beginning of his show all the way to where it's at now, and it's at its climax. Everything's happening so on time.
Yep.
Especially with what he's pushed and with all the Atlantean mysteries that he's pushed on his show. It doesn't have to specifically be called Atlantean, but even just the ideas of ancient civilizations, right? Like he's pushed that so much on his show, and it's you know, now he's got the Senator Paulina pushing Enoch, and it's kind of like forming this creation, dude, that I'm nervous about. Because something's coming. I don't know exactly.
It's all they're all a part of prophecy to some. There's some cog in the wheel fulfilling it because they're actors on the main stage and they're being seen by millions of people doing this. They are the progenitors for prophecy fulfillment to some degree. They're not on the right side of God, obviously, and they made that pretty clear. So that's just they're fulfilling what's coming and being a big part of it. So
exactly, man. Yeah, wild.
Well, we made it through the New Age Bologna together. I'm glad we made it, and we're barely traumatized from it. I'm sure. It's gonna get more traumatizing pretty soon here. We're on Dan Duvall. Dan Duvall defamation time. Air horn. Let's go.
I know. It's coming after us.
Yeah. So I'm going to remind people this man has admitted to having over 10,000 hours in personal deliverance practice, which is, I don't know who's counting that, but he said that. And he said that he's training hundreds of people right now. He has 19 trainers. And out of these 19 trainers, besides himself, 3 of them are men and the rest are women. I'm not saying anything, ladies. I'm not trying to make any insinuations, but that's just an interesting note. It is mostly women falling for this stuff. Putting it out there. Discernment's for everybody, okay? But find it interesting. So he's training hundreds, soon to be in the thousands, above 1,000 apparently, he said soon. So that's a big, big major effect we need to keep in mind when we're talking about this.
Real quick, how much of his work have you followed?
Like, I've listened to, like I said, over 40 or 50 hours of his presentations and interviews. So I've listened to a lot of it twice to take notes, listening to it once before and then taking notes for the book. And then also a third time lately for the clips. And I'm going through a lot and dissecting it. And I found more that I missed the first time that I got to talk about today, because I found a lot recently that I was like, oh my God, how did I miss this before? It's going to get crazy. So he is doing the same practice as the spirit releasement therapy, except the characters coming out are catering different lore that is not compatible with the SRT lore, but they're all healing people and they're all having mind's eye visions. Now, the big difference that he claims, well, he doesn't actually acknowledge SRT's existence, or he would be dead in a moment. He doesn't know it exists, I don't know, or he's ignoring it. But the main difference that he would claim if he saw the comparison was, oh, I don't channel entities. My patients don't channel through their voice. One, that might be a lie, and we'll get to that later. But two, what he says he's doing is these patients are getting into a trance state the same way, but instead of channeling out of their mouth, because that's divination, that's wrong, they channel via telepathic channeling through their inner world. He calls it the inner world. That's the same thing as this vision control. So in this inner world of mind's eye vision they're getting, they telepathically communicate with the entities there, whether it be soul fragments, aliens, councils, not ghosts, there's no ghosts, or demons. So they'll telepathically see them and they'll connect with them, and then they will relay the words to Dan, because they're awake, they're just in a trance state. So they'll, like a hypnoregression. So he will be talking to them like a Ouija board. Do you know what I'm saying? They're using their human body as a Ouija board, but it's the same thing.
Right.
So there's no difference. It's just channeling with one extra step. That is the big difference in their practice as far as methodology goes.
I wanted to ask you this, and I don't want to steer you off topic, but
Go for it.
Do you think that there's a tie-in with the telepathy tapes and this practice?
I'm going to say, well, this practice directly, I don't want to say for sure. I'd have to think about that. But there is definitely deceit going on. I mean, telepathy tapes is New Age lore coming from entity contacts and out-of-body travel. But then you have the Joe and Franco kids who are having the Christian side of it, saying, no, they're talking with Jesus. They see demonic deceivers. They see angels of light faking things. And they call it out and they say, pray to God. Don't pray to specific angels or name anybody. And I'm like, yeah, I can get behind that. That sounds legitimate. And these kids aren't doing divination technically in the same way that they're kind of stuck in this mind state that allows them to access these realms without effort. And it's hard for them to stay in their body. So I don't want to say for sure that they're all being deceived, but I do know that they do fake Jesus and fake heavens. And we can talk about that later, but that absolutely happens. And these kids visit fake heavens. And we know because the details coming out of them do not make sense. And I don't know if it's all fake. I'm open to it for sure, but it would be sadder for sure. But the New Age telepathy tape kids, they are deceived by demons because they're bringing out New Age lore and accessing reincarnation memories and all that stuff.
Yeah, there's a guy that I saw circulating around the internet, actually going on really big shows. And again, these are like Christian podcasts that this guy's going on. And he claims to be a Christian, but I don't believe he is saved.
Yeah.
And he wrote the book 18 Days in Heaven, left my body. I met Jesus.
Yeah. I felt some weird vibes on that one.
Extremely weird vibes, man. And
fake heaven, maybe.
Yeah, what he said, man. This is what he said. This is what really just made me lock in my assumptions. Is he said when he was in the third heaven, he was in front of Jesus, describing Jesus from head to toe in a very sensual way, very similar to kind of like how
Micah Turnbow.
Yes, very similar to Turnbow and how he's describing him in a sensual way. And he was saying when Jesus was looking at him, it was in the same way God looks at Jesus.
Yeah.
And it was like he's saying he's God.
Yeah, well,
he's
he kept
God.
he kept saying, "Oh, he died for me. He died for me." And I know, like you're saying, "Oh, he died for me," as in everybody, but he kept saying me, and wasn't like he died for us. He was like, "No, it's about me." And he's saying like it was like he's saying he's God. And I was like, he said it so many times where I was like, "This is weird." And people read his book and they were commenting. I didn't read his book, but they said there was a lot of like manifestation type stuff going on. There's a name for it in the Christian realm, like word of faith or something like that. I don't remember the terminology, but something that like it was a lot of like gross anti-biblical terminology coming out of this thing. And I'm not saying you're going to die, go to heaven, and then you're going to come back and have perfect discernment and theological understanding. No, but to have such sloppy ones is not a good sign. Now I'm not an expert on this kid, but I did watch the interview and I felt some weird vibes with it. And I know they do fake heaven because they did it with the telepathy tapes kids. Some of them. I'm not going to say all, but I don't know why you need to go to heaven and hang out with angels and God so much. I know they have a hard life, but I don't know if that's furthering the kingdom. I don't know if that's it's a sad thing. So I don't want to say for sure. They're good people for the most part, but it's a whole deception. Is not. They're not going to go pull punches on these kids just because they're not having the best time in their lives. So you got to keep that in mind. They're also perfect vessels for disinformation because they're trustworthy in a sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, it's wild, man. Let's get on some Dan Duvall lore and metaphorically punch this man in the theological balls here, whatever that means. So
I like it. Let's do it.
All right. So So like I said, his channeling is slightly different, one step removed, but it's the same thing, same inner world. He calls it the inner world, the vision. He talks about the visions constantly. We're gonna get into testimonies, and then they're healed, but not always. And one thing he talks about that is very interesting is the cosmic soul trafficking cartel. And this is soul fragments, not full souls. And
is this his terminology? This is his terminology?
Yes. Yeah, cosmic soul trafficking cartel. Yes. He uses those words, I promise you. Now, these are aliens doing a lot of this, maybe powered by demons. He doesn't really get into that, but he believes aliens are aliens. He doesn't think they're demons. Like the Alberino lore, very popular these days. So he says, we kept getting, and this is a verbatim quote of him on a podcast. So it's not a book, but it's him talking on a podcast. That's what most of this is. He says, we kept getting stories about soul parts that were pulled out of body, put on cosmic trade routes, and trafficked to these realms. And we're having to go to these locations in the spirit world with Jesus and break out soul parts, spirit fragments out of dungeons, prisons, laboratories, and glass containers, and all kinds of stuff. And people are getting set free and delivered. And now they can sleep. And now their finances are working. So yeah, he says that, and then he says some of them are like concentration camps. We have found soul fragments that have been trafficked to mining operations off planet. Who else talks about mining operations off planet? I feel like I've heard that plenty in secret space program lore, which might be fabricated memories. It's weird how they're overlapping Gnostic secret space program lore completely with this Christianese stuff.
They're
why combining the worlds.
Yeah, and this is why I fear what Timothy Alberino is pushing with Sidonia and all of this. And I think ultimately what he's a part of, and he may be ignorant to it, but he's still falling in line with the rest of the narrative, is they're trying to isolate and awaken humanity to the sons of Belial, according to Casey's work. And it will just be a natural reaction for humanity to gravitate towards the sons of the law of one. Once the world through collective consciousness understands that they need to rise away from this new world order, the deep state, the controlling forces, all of this, they're gonna go worship a false light, man.
Well, that's the setup villain, is the beast system, or not the beast system necessarily, but the Aldous Huxley Brave New World type vibe that we're going towards. That's the fake villain that is set up to be defeated by the Antichrist, in my opinion. Who is that? I mean, that's what I'm not the first to say that, but it's like so obvious what we're heading down, and I don't think that's the ultimate end. I think that's the fake villain. It's like how Klaus Schwab was the fake villain for Donald Trump to defeat.
Yes.
And now Donald Trump's the villain to be defeated. They just have a cycle going of these fake villains and fake heroes, and I think that's what's going on ultimately. So he talks about these mining operations off planet, which people see in their vision, and Jesus is with them and helping them and talking to them. Jesus and angels, apparently. He also says he goes to the rings of Saturn. Saturn worship, it's related to that. Orion system, Pleiades, the same places we hear talked about where the aliens are coming from. On all this, it's combining the worlds. It's keeping the same lore, switching it a little bit to a Christian version.
Wow.
So it's a bridge. It's a bridge. And another one he says, and this is not in my book. I wrote it down because I found it recently. He says, we found fragments of people's spirit on board craft operated by the Galactic Federation. He says Galactic Federation a lot, actually.
Does he really?
A lot.
Oh my goodness. That was an Israeli ex-government official, I remember, came out and said that the United States was in coordination or working with the Galactic Federation. This was back
the White
just
Hats.
before. Yeah, exactly. The White Hats. This was just before the David Fravor 2017 New York Times article came out, and all this is all timed. Again, it's all timed. They release these things purposely, man. It's all just propaganda.
Oh, yeah. But they have to make it seem like you caught them. They had to release this info, and you now you know the truth, and they had to dispel it. It's like the Gateway tapes in the 90s. They were like, oh, we found out or the remote viewing stuff, or they're like, oh, the remote viewer stuff was kept secret. Now they released the file, so now we know it's real. And they're like, we got you, government. But it's like, no, dude, this is all part of the plan. They just have to play like, oh, you got us. We had to release the files. Now you have to go out of body, by the way. You can do it. Dude, I gotta show you now. True. This is how dumb I am. All right, I got a tattoo back when I was a demon worshiper on accident, and it's because I was going out of body a lot, and my camera quality on this laptop's worse. I'm sorry, but it kind of looks cool, but it's evil, and I got to update it. So this is the tattoo I got, and it's the remote viewing, the classified files picture they used for the remote for the out of body stuff. And
yes,
you remember that? And I got that. I did that myself, and I was so proud of it. And I'm gonna update it soon. I'm gonna write retard on his skull so that it's like God is pleased with me, right?
Right.
So that's what I'm dealing with because I feel stupid for that one. But it looks cool, but it's good art, but it's evil, so I got to fix that.
Right.
Anyway, that was a fun little side
now
play.
it's supposed to symbolize what? All these different dimensions,
the ability to consciously travel ultimately,
right.
And that it's it's like 4+ dimensional or whatever. It's beyond what material world is. It's all that stuff.
Gotcha.
Got a lot of dumb tattoos, but they're funny, some of them. Good stories. When they find my body, they'll look at it and go, this guy was a fun guy. Like, where does head go? I'm getting crazy. I gotta chill.
That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah. So the cosmic soul trafficking, that's pushed heavily, and then it's kind of contradictive to the SRT lore, because the spirit releasement therapy lore, yes, has soul fragments, and yes, some people collect it or whatever, entities, but not for any mass organized cartel. There's no mention of that, but Dan Duvall says he has over 100 cases of this. But the SRT people never have mentioned an organized trafficking cartel where they're trading soul fragments for technology, not like a currency, but the currency of technology with other alien species, which they seem pretty maxed out on tech, but I guess they got to still do this thing. I don't know. That's how loose the description is here. Now, moving on, we're going to get to the council stuff, which is what that video was about. Which, if anybody wants to see a funny video, go to my Sethlehem _, YouTube page and look at the short. I have one, and it's hilarious. I really cooked on that edit. So
here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go. We'll play for the people.
You know what? It's fun. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Right. This is just all of our opinions, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Dan Duvall is, I think, one of the fastest growing false prophets in the world right now, and possibly going to be a huge problem for the Christian movement and a big asset to the demonic great deception.
I had begun to understand councils and the governmental authority they can hold. So instead of renouncing individual things, we started to renounce whole councils.
Reptilian council.
When we applied that to the council, the person saw the targeting activity break off of their lives.
Council in the sun.
And we started to see breakthroughs like we had never seen before.
Octopus council.
What's an example of a prayer that deals with the council?
We command that every gate, frequency, barrier, equation, cloaking device, force field, sacred geometry, DNA matrix, apex of time.
Like, how are you praying?
How are we praying? Well,
Jehovah Jehovah Sidkinu, Jehovah Mekadesh, Jehovah Ra'an.
We're going through a list of legalities.
To collapse all of their realms, programs, backup programs, power sources, and backup power sources. Council of the Galactic Federation.
But basically quantum entanglements with that council.
Council for each alternate Earth for a crushing blow against the group and all of their operations in all time, all space, all dimension, all reality, into light and its inverse, executed by the armies of heaven, the broom of destruction, the tsunami of living water, earthquakes, airquakes, sea quakes. We curse their computers with a curse of non-existence. It's bone marrow, assignments, blood, plasma, markers, meridian lines, chakras, energy signature.
I was worried he was going to forget the bone marrow.
That's right. That's exactly. Because
I was worried.
He was going to forget the bone marrow.
Anunnaki Council.
This guy's kind of a douchebag.
Wow. That's perfect.
Broadmovement.com, we got your back.
I think that was a good edit. I don't know.
Dude, that was a beautiful edit, dude.
I have
That was
7
great.
in the works right now. I have like 2 more done. They're not as funny, but I'm going to try to ramp it up. They're educational more so. That one's just silly.
That was hilarious.
That's the type of demon we're dealing with here, dude. And he's powerful. Isn't that insane? He's got a lot of power. He's a
Dude,
short,
maybe I should invite him on the show and just press
Oh
him,
my
dude.
gosh. Oh,
Should I just press him?
I don't. Well, you know, your name is Biblical Hitman. It
I
sounds
won't
kinda
even put
tough
you
and
in.
biblical.
I won't even. You'll
Can
be
I be like
backstage.
behind you, like with a cloak on me, and like just I'll come in at the right time and attack him or
Dude,
something?
I'll keep you backstage,
Yeah.
and then when he's getting into the councils, I'll just drop you right into the episode, and you'd be like, "Yo, what's up?"
No, that would be the most gangster thing ever. But he would lose his mind and
People would
financially destroy
never
me.
work with me again, but whatever, dude.
No, that would be
you know,
gangster, bro. You got to get crazy out here. I wouldn't.
Yeah,
I would-
dude.
I'd be
Come on
bored.
now. Is what it is, man. Golly, these soft Christian shows, man, they're so soft, man.
We got to show them how it's done, man. Come on, don't hold
Come
back.
on, man. Golly.
All right. Well,
dude.
it's about to get more blasphemous very soon, and by that I mean right now. And we're going to talk about. Well, I wonder if I should clarify any of that stuff that he just talked about. Well, he talked about the councils and all these different things. There's 50 or 60 councils he mentioned in that full video, and I just took a couple of silly ones, but there was many more I felt bad about not including. One, he does a bunch of crazy ones, and then he out of nowhere says Council of Scotland, and I was like, "What? You really like regress there with the extremity?" And it made me laugh. So the council stuff is they have governship over the spirits that are harassing you or over the entities in control in your life, and the legal authority they have has to be broken by declaring in the name of Jesus it's wrong, and he just names everything under the sun now that he wants to cover, and I kind of have to read a little bit of his prayer. Oh, actually, this is the part. Remember when I said I wanted you to have a video ready to go with a timestamp? Can you pull that up?
Oh yeah, I'll pull it up here. Hang on.
It's
Did
going to be
you
way
send
funnier.
that to me on X or did you text that? to me?
Yeah, but just if you want to look up on YouTube, just search up my audiobook or on my page, Spirit Realm Shenanigans, the audiobook, and go to chapter 3. It's going to be worth it. And then I can go pee, and then everybody will have a laugh.
Yeah. Go ahead. Go to the bathroom.
No, I got a minute. Hold on.
Okay.
I want to make sure you got the right time. It's I'll tell you the timestamp when you got it, but it's chapter 3, Spirit Releasement Shenanigans, and you should be able to figure it out. Oh no. Is he gone? It's so bright in here.
Sorry. Hey.
Okay, I got scared. I was really scared I did something.
Yeah. I got like 10,000 windows here.
I was like, I'm weirding this guy out. He's getting out of here. Oh, damn.
Dude, you're hilarious. I love the comedy. You gotta.
I'm trying to keep it clean.
I'm trying to learn more about the comedy. I'm just too much of a serious person. I was
Well,
talking
you
to
know.
Top the other day, and we were talking about that, and I was like, man, he's like, because they're comical guys, right? And so
They're goofballs, yeah.
they're great at balancing this kind of
It makes the darkness not so unabsorbable by these people. You know, that brings a lot of people in who otherwise couldn't handle it or wouldn't be entertained enough to follow it. So that's why I appreciate their work, and that's why I made my book funny, because I was sometimes cringy, I'm sure. But just
what was the timestamp on this?
Okay, it's 2 hours, 9 minutes, and 10 seconds. If you start it there and play it till like 2 minutes, 2 hours, 11 minutes, 12 seconds. No, I lied. Finish it at 2 minutes, 2 hours and 12 minutes, like right there.
Okay.
I know it's long, but it's going to be funny. And this is a real prayer, word for word. And it's not the whole thing, but it's like a third of the full prayer you're getting. And it's insane. And I got to pee and fix the lighting in here, and I'll be right back.
Okay, perfect. You know what? I'll take advantage of this. I'll use the restroom too.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
I want to listen to it though, because it's hilarious. I'm gonna listen to it. All right, so we got it up here. This is Seth's channel here. Check out his YouTube down there. Let's play this. This is the audio clip from Seth's book, and this is Duvall's prayer. And I love so his audio book is awesome. And he changes, he uses voices to animate some things. So this is hilarious. We'll run it.
You are about to witness maximum buffoonery in its most potent form. Here are some key excerpts.
Father in heaven, I come boldly before your throne of grace to find mercy and grace to help in time of need. I enter into your gates with thanksgiving, and I enter into your courts with praise. I hide myself in Christ Jesus, and from this secret place, I perform this renunciation and divorce. I command that every gate, frequency, barrier, equation, cloaking device, force field, sacred geometry, DNA matrix, apex of time, formula, defensive protocol, and any other form of unholy technology that would otherwise hinder progress, conceal ungodly agents, agendas, and slash or activities in relation to this renunciation and divorce of
blank
would be deactivated, disengaged, and moved out of the way, including all connected bombs, tripwires, and booby traps.
Apex of time really had me shitting for real. Duvall then continues with renouncing connections.
I renounce my tethering to, overlaying and interfacing with, and all existence as the group and all portals that are the group and all associated gates, paths, channels, forces, genetic and cellular anchoring data packets, ungodly DNA strands, bone marrow, assignments, blood, plasma, markers, meridian lines, chakras, energy signatures, neural lace, all related powers of darkness, quantum technologies, oversouls, and any other type of malevolent being.
Shoot. I was worried he was gonna forget the bone marrow. That one's major. Followed with a calling for judgment.
I now call for every algorithm or formula created from the listener's DNA and genetic material that is projected throughout the group to be shut down in every age, realm, dimension, frequency, vibration, and timeline, past, present, and future, to infinity. I command the immediate apprehension of all hybrids and every cosmic, artificial intelligence and technology behind those projections, and call for viruses encoded with heavenly algorithms to be uploaded into them and their computers in order to destroy them in judgment. I curse their computers with a curse of non-existence.
Got him. Take that. And that. Finally executing said judgment.
So that's just a portion of his entire extended prayer, which you can find fully in the video, How to Challenge Evil Councils with Dan Duvall. That is just a small portion of it, and that's his prayer he's doing to heal people, or to like legally get through these councils and other situations. He just says everything under the sun that doesn't exist, and they go, "Oh, you got us," because you called out the exact thing we are. And that's why he named 60 different councils in a row to make sure he's accessing as many groups as possible, just in case they fall under that category. It's all metaphysical law he thinks he's ascribed to here.
Dude, so you know what this sounds like?
hit me.
This sounds like, because the bone marrow thing got me.
Yeah.
It got me. Because in Scientology, they believe that the Thetans are all pieces of you.
Yeah, that's right.
Like your fingernail, your every joint, every bone, every freckle, these are all like Thetan spirits.
That's right.
This guy might be a Scientologist, dude, slapping Christianity on this thing like a label.
He's just doing what the entities tell him, man, and they don't really they switch up their story for different people, but not dramatically. They rehash the same concepts over and over and over and just name it something different. It's the same source ultimately for all this different stuff,
Yeah. It's kind of wicked, man. It's really not good.
Someone just compared it to the Screw Tape Letters. Well, that's my whole book, but it's nonfiction version, dog. It's the same thing. Not as good, probably, but it's the same vibe.
Yeah.
That's what he actually does in real life. And now he's going to tell you where he gets his methodology from, largely. And I'm going to relay an actual quote from him. Now, this is a quote of him retelling a story on a podcast, so it's not what happened then exactly, but it's a paraphrase that he's telling. So he says he is talking to Jesus Christ, channeling through a patient, and he's talking to Jesus, and he's asking, is Phil the angel? No, sorry, getting ahead of it. No, he says, is Phil the entity he's contacting? Because he was talking to Jesus, now he was talking to Phil earlier. Phil was an entity he was contacting through a patient. He says, is Phil, which is the patient's alter at the time, actually a part of the patient's humanity? Like, is it a part of them, like their soul fragment? And then Jesus says no. And Dan says, is Phil an angel, the entity he's channeling? And then Jesus says, yes. So Dan says, you mean to tell me I've been getting dynamics of programming, alters, and how to address certain issues explained to me over months by an angel? After that, I started to meet many more, and other people that I would sit down with would have different angels that would come forward. Once you get one angel, you get all of them. So Jesus told him he's channeling angels, and that's who's teaching him his methodology. And his name was Phil.
Wow.
Or maybe he just used that as a placeholder, but it's still,
what's his perspective with these angels?
I mean, he thinks they're the biblical ones, and he thinks he's accessing divine knowledge because he's allowed to by God. So it's not divination because God chose him for this work. And we'll get into his origin story and how he got into this more so in a bit, but I don't know if I probably didn't answer that exactly, but
yeah, these are not angels of God, man. These are not angels of God.
We figured that out.
These are demonic forces, man.
But channeling angels and Jesus alone, but because it's not mouth channeling, it's through the telepathic connection. That's better. But I'm like, isn't that the same as a Ouija board? There's no difference. It's actually worse because you're getting a vision at the same time, but that vision can't be fake. It has to be real, right? So that's crazy. And then there's the alters conversation, which, this is like a soul fragments thing. An alter splits off due to trauma, and then it becomes its own identity, and then that identity can possess you. Now, I think trauma-based splitting of your consciousness can happen probably, but I think that it instantly becomes a mask that can be worn by these entities. So I think disassociation from trauma is a God-given ability that helps us deal with certain situations. He allows us to disassociate so that we can deal with very traumatic events. But I don't think that when you're channeling an alter, it's going to be you split off. I think it's going to be a demon taking over that missing piece, or whatever you want to call it. So whenever MK Ultra people run missions, when their alter takes over, is that an alter that was programmed in these elaborate ways with technology and mind manipulation, or is that just a demon that's given permission now to come out and do a job? Which makes way more sense to me in the biblical perspective, but a lot of people don't want to talk about that. So he talks about these parts you need to reintegrate of your soul. So these soul fragments or these alters, like say a childlike alter of you was split off when you were a kid, you have to find it in your inner world, talk to your 6-year-old self who was traumatized, say, hey, here's Jesus. Jesus is right here. Talk to Jesus. He'll heal you. And then Jesus goes, it's okay. We can heal you. Come and reintegrate with the person. So then you have to ask them to integrate with your soul so you become whole again. Now, if this isn't a kid alter of yourself, and this is really a demon pretending to be one, are you giving permission to a demon to merge with you? I don't know. What else would that be? Why else would they go through these efforts? It sounds like that's exactly what's happening. A Christian is getting people possessed by demons in a pyramid scheme. It's that's what I think is happening. It's an opinion. If anybody's listening, now, so not only does he have people do that in their healings, but he also had his own. Okay, we're gonna get slightly off. Those were altars, but he also talks about doing this with your spirit. Your spirit, which is outside of yourself but connected to you, you have to ask it to join with you. You have to ask it to merge with you. And this is not biblical, obviously, but he tries to fit it into scripture somehow. And he says that his whole life changed and his spiritual drought ended when he first did this for himself. So this is early in his days, I think 2012 or 2013, somewhere near that. He describes one day an entity shows up. Now, he doesn't see it, but he senses it so strongly that he just knows, download information, he just knows that there's a 12-foot entity, Nephilim height. He just knows that there's a 12-foot entity standing right in front of him, and he can feel it. He says this, and he says that he thought it was about to speak to him from above, and its head would have been through the roof because he's in an apartment. And instead of coming from above, he hears it speaking from his heart inside because it's merged with him somewhat. And he says that he conversates with it a bit, and the entity says all the things that Jesus was telling him earlier. So he knows, oh, you're a good guy because you know what Jesus was telling me about in my prayer session when I was journaling from Jesus, which might have been automatic writing. It's insinuated maybe, but I don't want to say for sure. But he was getting downloads from Jesus apparently. And this guy shows up and says, yeah, remember that, what Jesus told you? I'm here to tell you that's cool. You should keep doing this work, getting into him in this healing practice. So he then asks this entity to join with him. I don't know whose idea it was first, but if it was Dan's idea, it got downloaded into him possibly. But he then merges with it and says his spiritual drought ended that day. And he's never had one since then. And instant access to information whenever he wants from all these angels, from Jesus, from, all these healings started that day mostly. So, or did he merge with a demon who gave him these fake powers and, more permission to guide him directly by influencing him heavier? That's what it seems to be. Guiding him right into a psyop. So not only does he do that himself, but he also teaches his entire classes to integrate with their soul. And he says, if you do this, he says, quote, your prayer journal will start to look like the book of Revelation. What the hell does that mean? Are you getting prophecies from these angels? Is that what's happening? Matching the Bible or what? He's teaching all of his students to do this. He has no warning of a deceptive spirit that might claim to be this entity. He says, just invite. He doesn't talk about deceptive spirits at all, claiming to be who they're not. Never mentions it. Maybe I'm wrong, but out of what I've seen, I've never heard it mentioned. Now that's irresponsible and evil, if you ask me. You keep picking up down.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of this kind of reminds me of an occult buzzword that's called self-realization, and pretty much it's like in the occult context, it's the experimental understanding of one's true nature as unified with the divine, infinite source, dissolving the illusionary and separating the ego. Do you think the ego has a part of all this? Because this just is all occult, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I see the whole spirit inviting it in as synonymous as a Christian version of the higher self in the New Age lore, or the higher self, the Godhead, the culmination of all your incarnations that is outside of time. Which in the Astral lore is constantly the main guide for these astral journeys. It's yourself. It's you from the future, but it's a bunch of yous combined. Now it's the same thing, but it's a different backstory. It's not 1,000 yous. It's your spirit, which is somehow right outside of you and has to join with you, but only if you ask it to. Don't know where the Bible says to do that if it's so important. I feel like God would have mentioned that. And why is it following the same rule as demon invitation, like a freaking vampire? Why does it doesn't make any sense? And then you get this knowledge and download and power. Mm-hmm. So I see it as that. The ego thing, I mean, it's funny. All the psychedelic users and occultists, they'll say you need to kill the ego. You need to get rid of the ego. And basically they're saying get rid of your individuality, merge with the hive mind. That's the idea of the programming, in my opinion. But it's ironic because the people trying to kill their ego in these various means are all trying to get power and psychic ability and are all trying to become God. And that's the most egotistical thing you can do. They may not see it that way, but that's how it looks from an outside perspective. Am I making sense?
Yeah. It's kind of like, too, when the serpent was tempting Eve, the serpent was basically saying, are you sure God said that? You sure? Which is, kind of like suppress, like, no, don't worry about that. Like suppress that.
It's very subtle. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very subtle with this deception.
Yeah, and there's so many more problematic things about this man we're getting to. This next one is not covered in my book because I missed it somehow the first time watching this, but I was rewatching his confessionals episode about the cosmic soul trafficking stuff, and I found a quote that I was blown away by that I didn't catch before. So he says, there is a holy way to engage with the astral plane in the spirit world that does not require demonic practices. And then he lists a few occult practices for out-of-body travel and drugs and all these meditation practices, whatever. And then he says, I spend a lot of time in Christ maneuvering things in the second heaven realm. He starts stuttering a lot, by the way, if you watch it. We are changing lives, destinies, timelines. So he just said, no, I don't do astral travel. No, that's demonic. I maneuver the second heaven in Christ. That's what he says. So there's no difference. You're just calling it something else. And your astral journeys might be correlated to a Christian perspective, which they do with people, which I've heard astral travelers go on confessionals and other shows talk about how God chose them to be an astral intercessor and praying for others in the astral and helping them. And they see like dogmen and cryptids and stuff throughout these realms. And it's similar to our world, but like slightly different. And it's all simulation, and it's to get them to convince others to astral travel, including themselves. And when they say how God chose them, it was when they were like 8 years old, and they're describing their story. And I'm like, that could easily be a demonic deceiver the way you described it. It didn't sound like a legitimate thing. Why would God choose an 8-year-old to start this astral travel journey? It doesn't make any sense. So I'm ranting, but you know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying. Yeah.
So we now know he's pro astral travel. He just doesn't like to call it that. So it's another rebranding, and it's very on the nose. And he's stuttering when he's saying this. He's like trying to be careful with his words and tiptoe around it the way he's saying it. And I'm gonna have a video about it, but it's like his energy just gets real weird because he knows how it's perceived to talk about this stuff, and he's trying to be careful because he knows people call him an occultist, but nobody has the evidence of the SRT comparison, which is what I'm trying to do today. Nobody's brought that out, but that's why I'm trying to get this out there. So yeah, that's crazy. And then this is an interesting one. Now, we said how he channels via the Ouija board style without direct voice channeling. Now, I said that might be a lie or an exaggeration, and he probably does both. And I do believe that, but I don't want to say it's a fact and I know for sure. But the reason I say this is because of his own words. One time he said, one time he said, we encourage the spirit to come forward and the spirit to be present. And then I start asking the spirit questions. Sometimes the spirit comes to the session and it actually has memories. Sometimes Jesus is pulling the veil back on the amnesia for the spirit, and the memory is coming in real time as we're working through something. And then the spirit will either begin to show the soul the movie of what took place, the controlled vision, or tell me outright with the person's mouth. One of the ways the spirit is communicating to me is its history and what happened, sometimes with deep shame. So he just said what took place, or tell me outright with the person's mouth. Now, am I reading into it too much, or does that sound like he's channeling? I don't know, but he said it loosely in an interview and then changed the topic immediately after. And I think he slipped up and Freudian slipped, but maybe I'm reading into it too much.
No, you're not. You're not. Like at the end of the day, you're not. You're just pointing out like what people should be pointing out, and especially like if he enters into a moment of damage control, that's kind of like what you're saying. He's doing when he's changing subjects or he's doing this or that. Like he doesn't want it to sound like he's an occultist, so he tries to fluff it up, sugarcoat it with certain things biblically that really don't make sense with
that's right
with what's going on.
He's very confident and very casual, and I don't want to say charming because gross, but he can carry that weight for most of his conversations. And anytime something really overly revealing or overly occult sounding comes out, he starts stuttering, he trips over his words, he gets a little nervous, and it's so readable. And I try to include that in some of the videos that I'm working on, to show like he's really cool the rest of the time, but whenever it comes to this stuff, he's being careful. He's being very intentionally careful because he knows how it's perceived, and I think it's because he knows he's nefarious, but that's an assumption I'm making and not a fact I can prove. So he might be deceived, but if he is, he's doing some crazy, evil mental gymnastics to get through all this stuff. You know what I'm saying?
He's deceived, man. He's deceived. And I think he's got a business to run. So obviously
I think it's evolved into nefariousness after being deceived. I don't know, but maybe that's just my assumption.
Sure.
You don't train people to possess themselves by their spirit. That's That's too much.
Right. Well, you also said, I mean, he's got children, right? Are children involved?
I don't know if he's got children.
Not him specifically, but is he teaching? Is he kind of like how the telepathy tapes? This revolves around children, right? Like, is this something that is a part of, his organization? Like,
I don't know for sure. I know the people he's training are, I think, mostly adults and mostly women.
Gotcha.
I don't think anybody's under 18 involved in that, but I don't know.
Because psionics teams also do like the same thing. They recruit children. Yeah,
well, I know the Black Projects do, but I didn't know they were openly doing that with Skywatcher.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing that Jake Barber was on Jesse Michaels' show talking about. He was like, I'm upset that they're doing this with children, and it kind of like added into the Epstein file thing. He didn't make a connection with it, but Epstein, obviously had his organizations and whatever he was doing with children as well. And there's something that you can use against these children, like you can. The children have some sort of state of intuition that us adults don't have. It's because their intellect hasn't developed yet. So they
traumatize them, and they're easier to control than an adult is, because they're more easy to dissociate and get them attached to entities because they're so much more fragile. That's what and also it's more of an insult to God, and that's also part of it. That's what I think.
Yeah, man.
Pretty messed up stuff, man. I don't like it.
I don't like it either.
That's why we're doing the fight, man. That's why we're out here.
You're doing a good job.
For the children. Sorry.
For the children, for the child.
I'm being a dude. Okay. We got to move on. We got to get to the more of the vision stuff here. So you see they're doing the same thing, but they're getting really cartoonish with it. So in this one, I'm just going to paraphrase it, I guess. Dan is doing a healing session. He's retelling the story on the deep end. You can find it if you want. Deep End Battle for Human Souls, 1 hour, 38 minutes, 52 seconds, if you don't believe me. So he is talking about a patient, and this patient is getting a vision. And in this vision, a fire demon shows up who's really giant and coming at him, his soul or whatever, in the vision. And in this vision, Dan's spirit, the 12-foot spirit we spoke of earlier, shows up in full armor. He has armor on, metaphysically, in the spirit, and he's charging after this demon. And he chases it down. It starts punching it in the face over and over and over and knocks it unconscious in the spirit, right? I don't know how the dynamics of this look, but I'm sure it's pretty trippy. So this patient is relaying this to Dan, and he's going, that's right, I got him. And Dan's self-satisfied as hell, looking really like a smug bastard. And then he ends up 15 minutes later past, because Dan is doing more prayers and healing with Jesus. That's what he says. And then afterwards, 15 minutes later go by, and the guy getting the vision, the patient, goes, Dan, you're never going to believe this, but your spirit is still punching the fire demon in the face for the past 15 minutes straight, uninterrupted. And he's been unconscious for a while, but he just keeps going at him. And I'm like, what kind of spirit has that much violence and rage inside of him? He won't give up after 10 minutes of punching a demon in the face. You got to go that long? What is the purpose? This doesn't seem like a man of God right here. I don't know.
Yeah.
Violence is necessary at times, but oh my gosh.
I'm looking at his YouTube channel, and it's wicked, man. It's wicked.
Find if y'all want to see something crazy, chat, look up the Dan Duvall Merfolk interview with the Water Kingdom. There's a 5-parter. It's one of the craziest things you'll ever listen to in your life. It's basically a secret space program, but underwater mermaids. And it's more fake memories, but it's real memory. It's real fake memories being implanted in people, and they believe that they were mermaids. And Dan interviews them like it's real. And he talks about it like it's a true thing. And it's secret space program in the water. And when you become a mermaid, if you upgrade in the hierarchy, you can switch out your mermaid tail for an octopus tail. This is a real thing, he says. And the victims are SRA victims, and they're getting these memory downloads, and they believe they're real, and it's very sad and crazy. So just look it up.
So what's funny about this symbol here is this goes back to also Hermeticism, where
of course it does.
It's as above, so below. And why I know that is because how Washington D.C. is set up in front of the Capitol building, also in other places around the Seven Hills, they have pools, pretty much. Not pools, but they've got bodies of water. And when you're looking at it from the, when you're standing on land and you're looking at the Capitol building in a in a linear direction, you can see the upside down reflection. Like if this would be the Capitol building here, this would be upside down, reflecting off of the water. And that's symbolic for as above, so below. Manly P. Hall talks about it too.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is interesting.
Yep.
And there's little things like that. Like you could pick up little. Now, I'm not a guy that's like super dogmatic on identifying someone with, symbols or anything like that, but it's just kind of, it's just,
they're out there.
It's a real thing, right? It's a real thing. So I don't know.
Yeah, well, he's wrapped up in it, man, and he's guided every step of the way. He's not acting, independently, that's for sure. And he's a big asset. So the bigger the asset you are, the more effort they're going to put into you. And he's eaten up the influence. He thinks his influence is from his spirit and from God. And we're going to get more into his personal testimonies here in a minute. But first, I have to give you the dumbest thing I will ever say out of my mouth, ever. And
what is it?
It's going to be stupid. But it's a story he tells, and I'm just going to give you the paraphrase short version. But he talks about, how I talked about the altars and the inner world. You can find them, and they're you from the past, and they're split off because of trauma, right? So he finds, and they look in the spirit like children versions of you, and it's creepy. So in these visions, they'll see a 6-year-old of themselves, and a couple of them maybe if they're really traumatized as a kid, and they'll see them, and instead of reintegrating them immediately, sometimes Jesus will say, no, let's give them water guns in the spirit, metaphysical water guns. And then Jesus will give these little child altars inside your inner world, metaphysically and metaphorically, give them water guns in the spirit filled with living water, the biblical living water that's pure and some healing stuff, I don't know. And then it says they will spray demons that show up with it in the spirit, and it'll get the demons to, screw off for a little bit. This is a real, he says it like it's a literal thing happening, and we know this happens because we see Jesus hand off the water guns to them in the spirit, these little children. That's what the hell is going on here, man? This is crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty stupid, man. I feel like I'm getting
maximum buffoonery.
Yeah, I'm getting more. My IQ is just going down.
My retardation's contagious.
It's
I'm sorry,
going
brother.
Down, man. It's going down talking about this, but we do have to, expose it, right?
So
we do have to.
That's why they got my goofy ass. I'm sorry. I gotta lock in. I feel like I'm the right character to bring this information about. I can.
You are.
Imagine a serious, like, old man researcher being dead serious about this. He couldn't do it. It would destroy him.
Yeah. I'd rather be dragged by a chariot of horses.
That's right.
On
That's
concrete.
Right. It's a way more respectable lane for sure. But we got to take down these false prophets, man. So we're making some progress. We're almost done with Dan Duvall stuff, and then I have some closing thoughts. But we're making progress.
Okay, cool.
And then we got to talk about pre-Edemic memories. This is a huge part of this whole thing. Not past life memories. Pre-Edemic. Pre-Adam, as in pre-Adam and Eve. Before they existed. Before, he believes in old Earth, so it's not before Earth existed because he doesn't believe in that. But I do as a young Earther, and he says that we can access these pre-Edemic memories via the same way past life memory works, through regression and intention. And then it'll be spirit memories, not physical bodies, but us in the spirit, even though there's physical attributes just like there is in these inner world visions they're seeing. And he says that you can heal from your trauma. You may not have physical trauma that much, but you might have spiritual past life trauma from your past pre-Edemic memory, and it'll heal you in this life. Just like past life regression. You do past life regression because let's say you had your pancreas ripped out by a bear, which is one real example used. Someone gets a memory of a past life where they died getting their pancreas ripped out by a bear, and then they do the reliving of it, and then boom, in their current life, their pancreas problems they actually had is healed. So it's kind of convincing.
Wow.
So
Dude,
there's these cycles. No, you go ahead.
This is theosophy.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's all
theosophy talks about extensively discussing the concept of human existence and memories extending far back before biblical Adam.
Yeah.
So this gets into like the first root race, second root race, and then according to Blavatsky, this is when man was created in the third root race, right? The Lumerian age, that root race. So it's kind of, this is again, this is theosophy. This is not Christianity, what this guy's talking about. This is rooted in mystical practices.
And it's pretty obvious to me. And, you know, later when you have some time, look at the comment sections of some of his videos, not just his videos, but interviews he's done with people where they don't even know him as well, like the Taylor Welch stuff. Look at how much pushback he's getting in the comments. You might find me spamming like 10 things, but that's it. That's it. And if anybody wants to be a hero and tag this video into a content of his, I won't stop you, but I won't ask you because that's maybe a crime in some way. But if you want to, you have free will. That would be nice. So yeah, you're not wrong at all. But he's, like I said, I don't think he's deceived anymore. He's had over 12 or something years in this practice. He has had enough exposure to the truth of people calling him an occultist, and he chooses to go with his own power and his own success and his own guidance from his demons. And I think it's beyond useful idiot nature at this point. But that's just my assumption. It's not a fact. So we're going to continue with the pre-Edemic stuff. So it's it's rebranding past life memories. It's making people feel special. It is healing you in this life because your past life trauma and which I didn't know we needed to heal from. The Bible doesn't talk about that. But yeah, so he also says there's pre-Edemic memory access that people get. And a common story he hears is pre-Edemic spirit memories these people recover are them getting abducted by the dark side of forces, demons or fallen angels, and they'll get abducted and be made to hybridize with the dark side, making Nephilim spirits in the pre-Edemic spirit world. And that's a real history. So more going on from that, he talks about how he became knowledgeable of these pre-Edemic memories and why to access them. How did he know? Did Jesus tell him? Sort of. He gets one day a vision in his early years before this ministry took off, really. And he describes getting a dream where he's visited. And in this dream, it's super vivid and crazy. And he goes through a portal, and then he's in space. And he's in the middle of space floating, and this giant, huge scroll opens up. And this giant scroll is zooming past him really quickly. Like, it's not like he can read every little bit. It's a lot of information. But he can read bits and pieces here and there and gather generally what's happening. His general assumption of what's happening is, which is pretty clear, he's reading about pre-Edemic history, pre-Edemic wars, pre-Edemic battles, pre-Edemic acts of betrayal, pre-Edemic coalitions, pre-Edemic kidnappings, pre-Edemic Nephilim, pre-Edemic heroism, all these things, history. And he's only reading bits and pieces, not getting a cohesive story, but he gets the general vibe. And then he's transported to a realm where he's talking to the Holy Spirit specifically. And he says it's the best conversation ever. He's having the best time. He feels loved. He feels so good. You know, we know that demons can hijack your feelings pretty hardcore, and they tend to. So he feels great. And the Holy Spirit is telling him he needs to start doing this work and exposing the pre-Edemic age, and it's time. And he's the conduit for it. And I'm paraphrasing, but this is what's happening.
I want to show you something.
Hit me.
All right. I'll show everybody. So I typed in Google, and again, like, I'm not like dogmatic on this, but it's very interesting what popped up when I wrote this in. I said, what occult practice mentions seeing a scroll or writings in the abyss? And that's what that darkness is. Everybody kind of knows this word here, thelema, right? So seeing a scroll, writings, or symbolic text within the abyss is most notably associated with thelema, which is what Aleister Crowley is known for creating. It's his own religion. It's the esoteric tradition founded by Aleister Crowley, where the abyss presents a profound void that a practitioner or adept must cross to achieve higher consciousness. Other traditions and lore also mention this imagery. So then you have, we talked about this, Hermeticism, Kabbalah, the Akashic Records. That's what Casey, Blavatsky, and Steiner were involved with getting their information about Atlantis. This is all connecting back into what this guy's involved in.
Oh yeah, that was a good catch.
yeah, because I study the occult, man. So a lot of these things that you say like trigger buzzwords with me, and then I'll look it up, and there's connections to it. It's kind of wild.
I'm just concentrating the compilation of the goofiest of all occult lore and making it laughable, and just showing what these people believe in. But not everybody in these practices, not every one of Dan Duvall's followers knows he believes everything he does. They don't see all the details. So if they did in a presentation like I'm trying to do here of the most crazy things, I think I can get through to anybody, who's a true Christian or trying to be at least.
Yeah, when you mentioned that too, right? Like the scroll thing here. Well, why do you think Star Wars opens up the way it does?
Oh, true. That's a trip. I mean, it is a space.
Yeah.
So that's a trippy little connection right there.
It is, right? Because that's
and there's the symbolic stuff in all that, for sure.
Yeah, the whole movie's based off Kabbalah. Then the clip off.
That's very true.
The tree
I think that movie came by way of download, like many other popular movies have, like The Matrix and other such ones that are Gnostic in their lore.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
a Star Wars fan, but
yeah,
I'm not a Thelema fan or Kabbalah.
That's acceptable.
Yeah, I shoot that down with a rocket launcher.
As you should, brother. That's the right move. So this pre-Edemic stuff is just a rebrand of past life memories. It's the same thing, and there's no overlap. You don't have these Christians accessing past life memories in these pre-Edemic Dan Duvall sessions, and you don't have anybody I've ever heard in the SRT lore or past life regression. I've never heard any of them New Age Gnostic mention a pre-Edemic spirit memory ever. Is it just the prompting that requires it? Is that all? Because they can't overlap. Either one is true or the other's true, or neither of them are true. Because there's also no spirit, no Jesus. Dan's Jesus isn't telling him, hey, by the way, this past life stuff, that's from fake visions, but your stuff is the real thing. No. And you know how we can tell this further is that when Dan is asked about, hey, wait, how do you explain reincarnation memories, though? Aren't these like kind of similar? And he's like, no, they're so different. Actually, he says, I believe past life memories are real memories. They're not fabrications, because if he says they're fake visions from demons, guess what that implies about his own work? Can't say that. He doesn't know that probably, but he could assume. Now, he says that he believes they're real memories, not of those people's past lives, but it's DNA memories stuck in the DNA from their ancestors passed down to them. Now, think about this for a second. I don't know if you've done any reincarnation data research. I've done a lot, but you can do 5 minutes and find out that's full of crap. There's no sense in it, because for that to be true, that would mean every reincarnation memory accessed would have to be in your genetic bloodline. Now, when you get into the reincarnation lore, sometimes it's reincarnating in your family, but the vast, vast majority are outside the family. And usually the gap is about 100 miles away, maybe 20 to 100 miles away somewhere else. Sometimes it's across continents, yes. But a lot of them are pretty close. And think about it. If you're a demon making fake memories, wanting to create fake lore for reincarnation, which is part 3 material, you would want them to be close by, so then you can have them visit their past life family and then gather data and make it seem more legitimate, which is what they do. So they try to pick someone close by, usually within 100 miles. And also the gap between incarnations, between your last life and your next life, is usually 1 to 3 years. Sometimes it's 5, sometimes it's up to 20, but there's rarely does it go past 5 years. So that's between your death of the last life and your current life. So that means your past life memory, all these past life memories relived, most of them are the most recent memory. So that would have to be like your grandpa or your father. And if your father's alive, it wouldn't work. And if it's not, and if your grandpa's alive, it would have to be your great grandpa. And it doesn't, these memories are not ancient memories most of the time. Sometimes they access ancient memories, but for it to be a DNA ancestral memory locked in there, it would have to be ancient and in your bloodline. And that's pretty much never the case, almost never. So his excuse for past life memories is totally full of crap, and 5 minutes will prove that wrong very quickly. So I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, I wanted to show this for everybody, because this is what I've been trying to, I wish I was like a documentary maker, right? Like, because I feel like I'd make some pretty cool documentaries of these concepts. Yeah. But, the Jesus I think he's talking about is not the Lord of the Bible. It's not the Jesus of the Bible. It's not the true Jesus. It's actually this Jesus that's known as the cosmic Christ, or the cosmic Jesus. And this is basically a theological concept emphasizing Jesus Christ's presence through all of creation, rather than only in human history or salvation. And Paulina and Joni, this is rooted in Pauline and Johanni. I can't leave these names.
Close enough.
Theology, yeah. And it's the cosmic Christ is something that I think the NAR movement pushes as well. and a lot of these other, again, it's, man, dude, I don't know. It's just, it's pissing me off.
I'm royally pissed with you, brother.
It's pissing me off, man.
Thank you, Morpheus. Right? Thank you.
Oh man, yeah. Shout out Morpheus with the super chat, brother. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. He says, I bought your book after your NDS show, Seth.
Watch the NDS episodes if you want to see me mouth off and be really inappropriate and goofy. I'm sorry, Jesus.
It's all good. You're passionate, man. And we are forgiven. Thank you, Lord. I mean, that's why I trust in the Lord. I trust in the Lord, you know, for what he did for us on the cross, man. It's really amazing, man. We need him every day.
I tell everybody every day, and they're like, okay, we get it. That's your thing. And I'm like, yeah, I'm a freak now. I'm on that Jesus train heavy. No shame, bro.
Yeah, no doubt, man. So where are we at?
Okay, we're coming up on the end, honestly. I mean, I have plenty more. I'm just not feeling. We don't need to do it, today.
Gotcha.
I've made my points, but yeah, the pre-Edemic stuff. I think I've made my point clear. He released a book on this in detail a few months ago. I have not read it. It came out after my book, so I'm basing off of like testimony in his interviews, presentations. So there's probably a lot I could dissect from that and really, take a big old dump on. But if y'all want to do that yourself for your own projects, that's nice. I did not. So yeah, after he had that vision in the portal in the Star Wars area, he then accesses past or pre-Edemic memories and his own pre-Edemic memory is pretty interesting. And I have a quote I'm going to read that is a little funny. And let's see, 96. Yeah. So this is a quote that includes stuttering because I'm going to read it just like he said it as much as I can. Okay. Just keep in mind he's stuttering because he's, he realizes he's saying it too much. And he says, my job in the pre-Edemic age was a general. I actually started to run a military campaign, and early on in that military campaign, and this came by way of memories, like I actually started to remember some stuff. We had a lot of challenges, like there was a lot of betrayal and a lot of shiftiness, and people that were part of these military campaigns, the spirits, they were not loyal. They were defecting, all kinds of stuff. So it was like chaos and a difficult process of tightening the ship so that we could shut down that activity and really hit a slipstream of success as we were doing, really fighting for the Lord. And in these pre-Edemic wars, well, lo and behold, I come into this world and it's like time to start a ministry. So what did I experience in the early days of the ministry? Like every time we even got going for like a few months with an employee, there was an implosion. I couldn't get a team of core support around me at all for years. So he was a pre-Edemic general. He's a real bad MFer, real cool guy. And he doesn't really have any core details he can give. He's being very vague about the entire description and starts stuttering and getting really nervous and changing the subject. And I just find it interesting that he had his own pre-Edemic memory, validating it for himself. And now he's accessing all these people's and he's getting all this divine information from the Lord. And that's what he believes. And that's what the story he's telling. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, he's wackadoodle, man. Wackadoodle.
As much as you can be.
Yeah, and, you know where the Lord talks to you, man? He talks to you in the Word of God. He talks to you through the Bible. He'll put things on your heart, obviously, but like he talks to you in his Word, man.
Yeah, when people say Jesus told me this or God told me this, and they're being very literal with like the speaking to me thing, I'm not saying that never happens, but I get nervous around those people when they say it all the time because I'm like, you're attributing all your intuition to the words coming straight to you, and that's dangerous business. And when you start believing that and loving it and loving that attention from God, you're opened up to demons because they're going to stroke that ego of yours and pretend to be God. So that's what I think happens too.
Yeah, and that's really the ultimate goal. That's the outcome that they want for the user or the experiencer to, realize or believe in at the end of it. And it just goes all the way back to the garden. That's what the serpent was telling to Eve. It's wild. The Gnostic New World Order.
That's right. That's what we're coming up on pretty soon here.
So happy about it.
Yep. Well, at least we're gonna have a lot of work to do. We'll have purpose, and that's something to look forward to, man. So we got one more thing about Duvall before I get into my off-brand tangent, but 97. So you can pull it up if you want. You don't have to, but there's a Facebook group called Victims of Daniel Duvall and Bride Ministries. Now, you'll see my post on there if you look at it. But they have over 200 something members, and they have a whole Facebook group dedicated to just people who are victims of his practice who realized their spiritual warfare got only worse after his practice. And they have testimonies in there, and I'm not going to share any because it's all it could be. You could legally say it's not true or made up because I can't prove any of this, but there are testimonies on there, probably buried somewhere. And they are sharing their experiences with Dan Duvall and the trauma they experienced. So the fact that there's 200 members in there, plus think about who's not included in the Facebook group. There's probably quite a few more, I would imagine, but who knows? I'm a member because I got traumatized by listening to so much material of his. So if you scroll down just a little bit, you should see my post where I'm telling them to watch the breakdown I do on him. So
nice.
Yeah. And someone,
I love it.
Yeah. So I'm sure people are watching that, a couple of them, and I shouted them out, and as I'm doing now, and I just think it's important to show that exists. The fact that exists is should be enough speculation we can gather from that.
Right.
And then I wanted to read a Bible verse, from my favorite book, the Bible. I don't know if you heard of it, and it's
what is it? Where's it? What book? What we got here?
Oh, Matthew 7:22 to 23. And this is, I think this verse was made for Dan Duvall. That's just speculation. What do I know? And people like him. But
Matthew what? Matthew
7:22 to 23.
Okay.
I'm going to read this thing. Yeah, go for it.
Sweet. All right, cool. 22 to 33. All right, cool.
23.
23. Okay.
Yeah, not that long. So
go ahead.
Yeah, I'll wait to pull it up. So it says, many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in your name, cast out demons in your name, and done many wonders in your name? And then I will declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you who practice lawlessness. Now he's telling you there will be a time when people think they are casting out demons in the name of God, Yahweh, and they will actually be doing the work of demons and being deceived. Now that is a very clear statement that this is going to take place. What do you think this is happening with Dan Duvall? It is absolutely what's described in Matthew 7 right there. And I find that I've never heard him bring up that verse, that's for sure. But I find that very on the nose here and relevant. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, man. That describes exactly what's happening. Yeah, cast out devils. That's funny. There's so many other groups that we could put this under, but he falls right into.
Oh, he's right there, aligned with it.
Right, absolutely. Well, I hope he gets saved, man.
I've prayed for it, and I genuinely want to believe it's possible, and I hope he changes his mind if he sees content like this breaking down in detail the truth. But I lean towards the idea he's going to choose his ego and his own path that he's had success with. Because think about how much turmoil you'd experience admitting what's actually going on here. It would not be easy, and I hope he does come around to that, and I pray that happens. But do I find it likely? No, because he's had so many people call him an occultist in the past, and he's had lawsuits over it. I think he would have been open to it then, and if he isn't by now, after 12, 15 years of doing this, I don't see it being likely as he gains more power and influence and love and money. So I think it's going to be much harder to go back on that. But I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, I really, I don't want any of these people to suffer eternal torment. Really, initially, it wasn't. It wasn't for us, for Satan and his fallen angels. But if you're worshiping the world and the spirit of the world, and anything else but Jesus Christ, it's that's just you're worshiping your father, Satan. So, and
you got to make sure it's the biblical Jesus, not the made up Christ consciousness or the new one, the Jesus plus that Dan Duvall pushes. Because if it's the wrong Jesus and it's your own man-made version, it's gonna be the wrong situation for your eternal path. That's absolutely right.
Yeah, and it's Romans 1:28. It's and even as they not like. All right, so let me get this right here. This is the KJV. I gotta get my English going on here.
Oh, I love that one.
Yeah, I love it too. And even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, God gave them over to reprobate mind, to do those things which are not convenient. So really, God just, if you like the route you're going, then he will allow you to choose what it is you want to do, what path it is you want to choose, then okay, like he'll try and knock on the door as many times as he can, but he's got other houses.
He's gonna let your free will play out, and he's gonna give you that as a gift. He's not gonna take over and force your hand. He'll give you opportunities, and he'll knock on the door, but he ain't gonna break it down. And it wouldn't be beneficial to his overall message of salvation if he just forced it upon you. So we have the best gift ever, eternal salvation. All we have to do is accept it. But if we want to do our own thing and have our own power and our own way of life and belief system, that's fine, but it's not going to end well for us. And that's not the only reason, of course, to be on the side of truth. It's the right thing to do anyway. But the scare tactic alone should be enough of an argument, I suppose. But I don't like to use it as much, I suppose.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So what else you got? You got anything else here?
We're done with the Duvall stuff. I have plenty more in the book. Buy the book, but I did want to cover one thing, and then we can close out or do some more ramblings about other stuff. But I didn't cover this in my last one, and I really wanted to. So this is it's a part of my book I call True Deliverance, and it's much more elaborate and eloquent than what I'm going to present to you here. But it's the end of the chapter after I do this whole breakdown of Duvall and the SRT material. And I talk about how I didn't study it directly a large amount as much as I did these other projects and these other healings, but I wanted to study more into exorcisms of the Christian and Catholic, deliverance side of things. And I did some, and I've done a lot of testimony I've listened to, but I see a pattern going on there, and I had some statements that I'm making based off of my assumptions of what's going on. Because I'm uncovering all these demonic theatrics in the astral, demonic theatrics in channeling, demonic theatrics in the holistic healing, which is a mixture of the two, right? And whenever you see how calculated they are constantly, they're very, very calculated, and they're playing out a narrative, and they're giving you a whole story and a script to make you believe stuff that's not true. That's their whole thing. They have very good control of themselves. But people, when they deal with exorcists and they deal with the Christian side of things, and they see demons possessing people get all feral and do this high sci-fi or this horror movie level stuff, which I'm not saying doesn't happen. I definitely believe it does. I think they're still acting. I don't think that they just get into their normal state when they're with Christians and they stop acting. I don't see why they would do that. They're always acting and putting on a show. I think in real exorcisms, they are teaching methodology to these exorcists often, because they have very little scripture to base their practices off of. And most exorcists, when you ask them, apparently will say, yeah, it's trial and error. We mess up and we figure out how to do things in the new, and then we create methodology based around our trial and error. So if you're basing your methodology largely on trial and error, you are going to be taught methodology by demons indirectly. And they know this. They're smart enough to know this. So they're going to puff up their chest and put on a show. And whenever you cast them out, why does these exorcisms often take hours and sometimes days? If it was in the authority of Christ, it should be pretty immediate, should it not? But these things sometimes take hours and days. What I think is happening is they eventually leave, or they just stop possessing you and they stay with you maybe. I don't know. But they leave because they're like, well, my cover's blown. You're not going to give up until I'm gone. I might as well go out with a bang and put on a show. That's what I think is going on. So they're just leaving you alone, and they're making you think you cast them out. But why did it take the name of Jesus 50-something times and then some other practices he threw in? Why didn't it happen immediately? I think that's because these exorcists often don't have the authority they think they do. I think they could, hypothetically, but I'm not going to claim to be a total expert on this because, like I said, it's based off of my research in other areas more so. But I think that a lot of exorcisms are unnecessary, even if they claim to work. Because even if they work, how do we know it was like an authentic thing? Because they could be acting. Keep that in mind. They do it all the time. They're always acting. We have to keep that in mind. So we have to keep that in mind. And I think in maybe SRA abuse victims and people who are, bloodline demonically connected and have a lot more ties to these things and consents given in the past from occult practices, maybe those people, if they want to do an exorcism and they feel like they need that, I'm open to it, sure. But you got to be careful with the way you're doing it. And I think the true deliverance that happens, and people aren't going to want to hear it sometimes, a lot of deliverance ministers, but it is covenant with Jesus. It is true faith in your heart. Someone can say, yeah, I tried that. It didn't work. In their heart, we don't know if that's true or not. We cannot assume. We can't tell people, no, you didn't try hard enough. You don't love Jesus enough. We can't say one way or the other. And I'm not saying that. I'm just saying we don't know And we have to be open to the idea that true repentance and true covenant with Christ and going away from sin, repentance doesn't mean just apologizing, it means turning away. So if you still have negative practices in your life that's keeping doors open, and you're going to say, oh, I did everything I could, I'm going to call you, I'm going to say you're wrong. And I think that's the first thing people should do is work on their life, talk to God every day, ask him for protection, and you got to mean it. And don't just do it as a ritual. And I think if you do that, most of these people will be healed. But it's not everybody's going to do that dedicated. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, people sometimes have to understand with prayer too. You have to have faith in prayer. Like you have to believe. You have to believe. You have to have faith in prayer, right? I'm not going to get too crazy with that, but what you were saying kind of makes me think of. I think you're absolutely right. Where they can put on this act, they can put on a show, this whole exorcism thing. Everyone believes that there's deliverance done. Maybe you had a Catholic priest come in, do his thing, whatever. There's even people that have their own private businesses and organizations where they go and they do these things. And specifically too, like one of my wife's friends who just lusts too much with mediums and psychics and all these things, and really that's who she goes to with trying to find answers with stuff. And so she was getting oppressed, and she was getting attacked by something in her house. It was even kind of channeling through her husband in the middle of his sleep. And it's wild. It's kind of a wild story. And she invited this ministry over to the house, but it was like when I investigated about the ministry, I was like, these people they're not going to do anything. There's no power. They have no power to do anything.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like why they show you in these movies like The Conjuring. Why are there 4 Conjuring movies? I thought we casted the thing out in the first movie. I thought it was done. It's not. It's kind of like they go, they leave, and then when the time's right, they come back.
Yeah. And then you got to get another exorcism.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing. They do it with the SRT, man. And they think, oh, well, it got rid of it for a while, but I must have opened another door with whatever dumb reason it might have been. That's not the true way. We need to understand that door openings happen via sin. The more you sin, the crazier the sin. Occult practice is a sin. Divination's a sin. That counts. You may not think it does, witches, but it does. And the more you sin to varying degrees, not your version of sin, but God's version of sin, the more you open doors. And they cater to what you focus on. If your thing is greed and money, demons will make you think about that, focus on that, drive towards that. If your thing is lust and sex, they're going to plant those thoughts in your head. And the more you allow it, the more you pursue those things, the more you're allowing influence. And I know I'm focusing on reverse wargaming demons and all their tactics and stuff, which needs to be done to this degree, but it makes me sound like I'm constantly looking at the spirit realm as, oh, that's the source of my problems. No, I'm saying people's sin and actions are allowing these influences, and we don't need to cast every demon out. We need to fix ourselves and our hearts. We're not supposed to focus on the spirit realm constantly, but I'm doing this work because we live in a certain time where things are different, and we need to know what's coming. And also this deception that I'm specifically trying to uncover, the theatrics of the vision control, I'm apparently like the only person doing it, so I feel like I have an excuse but to focus on demons. But it's hypocritical sounding for me to say. But I'm just saying we're not supposed to be focusing on that in our day-to-day to make an excuse for every problem we have in our life. Not at all. It's because we open those doors and we don't want to take responsibility. And guess what Eve did when she was in the garden? She didn't take responsibility. She started blaming everybody else. Instead, and she could have been forgiven right there on the spot maybe and been fine, but she decided not to. So that's the message I'm trying to say. Be responsible for your own actions at the end of the day, regardless of demonic influence or not.
Sure, absolutely. I agree with that, man. Well, if you don't mind, man, I'd like to land this bad boy, get it on the ground. I really would like to get you and John together. We'll do a round table.
I would love to.
Maybe I can get a bunch of I got to do a round table again. It's been a long time since I've done one.
I would love a seat at that table, brother.
Yeah, and John's a good guy. He's a very smart guy. I'm sure he's gonna have some cool questions for you and stuff. But real quick, man, is there any last message you want to share with the audience? Anything on your heart?
I think I did a pretty solid rant there in the last moments, and I don't know if I can top it. But last line, I would say warfare, spiritual warfare, needs to be reframed as gospel proclamation. That's what I believe. All this casting out demon stuff and hyperfixation on the holistic healings, and your attention is, even if it was real, which it's not, it's focused on the wrong things. And once you see the deception in this layer, it's hard to unsee it. And I think life will get a lot simpler, even despite the elaboracy of all this. So, Seth Lehem on Instagram and X.
Yes.
Buy
Yes,
my book.
man.
Give me money. I don't need it, but I want to get the
support,
word out.
Support your boy, man. Let's go.
Audiobook's free, you pores.
Yeah, this is his X profile here. He's got a link tree on it. Bam.
I started this freaking community, Team Bible Gangstas, and now I just found out communities are going to get X'd and taken out in a few weeks. So I'm pissed.
Are they really?
Yeah, and I'm like, I was going to start doing like real, group stuff on there. You can make a group chat instead, but it's not the same. And so I might do a backup group chat for everybody in there. But cool. I was so hyped about it. I just made it the other week or two.
Yeah, I know. I was added into.
You're a member. You're a gangster,
I felt
bro.
Special.
No, definitely. Now we got to find a plan B because they don't want us to commune anymore because we're too dangerous. So.
Yeah. Well, hey, shout out to everybody tuning in. Thank you for giving us your time tonight. I hope everyone has a blessed rest of their night and enjoys the rest of their week. I'll be jumping on, getting some more streams going on here. I'm really digging into the Alice Bailey New Age stuff. I'd like to get some material to present to you folks. Be sure to check out Seth and all his stuff and support your boy. All right. And please come over, support the channel as well. My stuff, if you like it. If you don't like it, just don't do anything. Best place to support me is patreon.com/The Biblical Hitman, and get all your ad-free early access and direct chats, community chats with me over there. We have a pretty cool community. It's growing slowly, but we're moving forward. Also, YouTube, come over. If you haven't hit the subscribe button already, make sure you smash that subscribe button, like the show, share it with your friends. A comment definitely helps the video get out there to others. And hopefully this is, I know this is a useful message to get out to others because as the show is called, The Biblical Hitmen, right? It's we're taking out a bunch of these ops and we're taking out a bunch of these, workers of deception out there. So it's a lot of fun. It's something that the Lord put on my heart to do a long time ago. And I think he's molding the show to exactly where it's at. And I'm very thankful for that. Very thankful to be saved. Very thankful to be a believer in Jesus Christ. And very thankful that he died for me, my sins, and all of our sins, all the sins of the world. And, it's very simple. It's very easy. If anyone wants to get a hold of me, any questions about salvation or anything pertaining to biblical stuff, just shoot me an email, all that kind of stuff. Also, you can support the show on audio platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify. My channel over there on Spotify is growing, so if anyone likes Spotify, come on over, find the channel over there, hit the follow button, leave a review, hopefully a nice one. And that's it, folks. But thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Thank you for the super chats. Much love to everybody in the chat. Stephanie, user, Danielle, sorry. Read that quick. My cousin's name is Danielle. Sorry, I talked to her earlier. It's probably why I said that. Chris, what's up, Chris? Good to see you. Dunt, as always, pleasure. Lattice, what's up? Morpheus, thank you for the super chats, brother. Appreciate you. Ashley, everyone. I can't get to everybody, but thank you for popping off in the live chat. Definitely helps out the show. That's a wrap, everybody. Have a good night. See you next time.